Chapter 2555 Really Want to Kill? My Netherworld sect will never let you off lightly. An almost whispering sound sounded from not far away. Yang Kai turned his head to look, and saw Hua Feiken, who was about to lose his vitality, lying on the ground, staring at this side with wide-eyed eyes. His eyes were all gray. It seems that the fisheye has been dead for an unknown number of days. After saying this, he tilted his head and lost his breath completely. He was not bad for being hit by the mark of time like a shuttle, and he survived until now. Yang Kai naturally didn't care about the threat of the dead. He stretched out his hand, took off the space ring from Yin Lesheng's hand, and threw it into his arms. This is the chief disciple of Huang Quanzong. There must be a lot of good things on him. How could Yang Kai miss it? Before he could turn around to deal with Hua Feiken's entity, Yang Kai's face suddenly changed, and he hurriedly threw the Emperor Ju pill in his hand. Bump! With a loud bang, the Dewey pill exploded, turning into powder and dissipating in the air. Yang Kai's face was cloudy and uncertain. His good mood suddenly turned bad. He gritted his teeth and said, "Restriction." He didn't know what restrictions were set on this Emperor Ju pill, but it must be related to Yin Lesheng's life and death. Ju Dan is so wasted. Yang Kaixin was in so much pain, but it was useless to be distressed at this point, so he could only calm down his emotions, walk to Hua Feiken's side and put away his space ring. The Ghost King who was out of control over there was no longer a concern. Countless soul-eating insects gnawed at it, treating it as a delicious meal, and it would not be long before it would be devoured. There were more than 20 corpses strewn about on the ground, and the smell of blood was pungent. Yang Kai himself was also injured. The wound that was slashed by the Ghost King's sickle has not healed until now, and the dark energy on the edge of the wound is entangled with black energy, constantly corroding. Yang Kai stretched out his hand and immediately a small piece of Soul Eater flew towards him and landed on his wound. Since the soul-eating insects can eat the Ghost King, it must be no problem to deal with the Ghost King's cold air. They are called to deal with the injury. The fact was just as he had imagined. As soon as the Soul Eater landed on his wound, it devoured it vigorously. In just a short while, the pitch-black energy was completely swallowed up. Without the erosion and interference of the cold air, the powerful recovery ability of the golden blood in Yang Kai's body finally played a role. The flesh and blood in the wound squirmed. I am afraid it will not take a few days will be cured. Until then, Yang Kai turned his head and looked towards the girl in red. As soon as the eyes of the two sides met, Liner couldn't help swallowing. Despite the beauty she said just now, she was actually scared to death in her heart. She has never seen someone who can be so ruthless, can kill all the enemies with one enemy, and he killed not just ordinary people, but those are the two emperors of the Wangquan sect, plus a group of people who have arranged Tianluofeng Dao's source realm of great formation. Coupled with the huge wound on Yang Kai's chest, it added a hideous feeling. Seeing Yang Kai looking this way, saying not to panic would be a lie. Liner is now a little regretful. She would have run away with Fu Lao if she knew it earlier. What is she doing to stay here to be brave? She didn't even think about it. With Yang Kai's ability, even if she wanted to escape, she wouldn't be able to escape very far, unless she and Fu Lao escaped back to the ancient passage, and with the help of Chiwu's interference they could get rid of Yang Kai. Rustle. Yang Kai walked over there step by step. His eyes were cold, which put great pressure on Liner. The old protector Fu was eager, and he had already flashed in front of Liner, with a look of guard on his face. It's honest. Yang Kai walked up to 3 feet in front of them, stood still, pointed at the edge of the sword, and said coldly, "For the sake of your honesty, I can give you a happy. Tell me, how do you want to die?" Fu Lao became anxious when he heard it. This one is serious. How many people in this world dare to point a sword at their eldest daughter and ask her how she wants to die? Looking at Yang Kai's murderous look, it seems that he really doesn't intend to let the two of them go. Thinking about it, he was restrained by the Emperor with the Emperor treasure, and almost died in the hands of the people of the Netherworld sect. Anyone would be angry. But how could the young lady die? If she died, the world would be in chaos. Fu Lao said in a deep voice, "Young master, it is better to settle the enemy than to end it. This time we made a mistake. You hold your hand high, so what if today's incident never happened?" It didn't happen. Yang Kai squinted at him, annoyed, and said coldly, "Could it be that the wound on this young master's body is fake? How can I pretend it never happened? The wound hasn't healed yet, and Bai Sensen's bones are still exposed. How can it be assumed that this never happened?" Fu Lao's complexion darkened, and he said, "This old man is saying this for your own good. If you persist in your obsession, you will be in great trouble." Yang Kai laughed back angrily, and said, "This young master knows that you are not young, and there are big people behind you, but so what, it falls into this young master's hands, life and death are only in my mind, losers should have losers' enlightenment, you still dare to speak so shamelessly, believe it or not, I stabbed you with a sword." While speaking, Yang Kai turned his sword and directly pressed it against Fu Lao's chest, his wrist was shaking, and the sharp sword tip cut Fu Lao's clothes torn, scaring him to take a step back quickly, and the momentum of strong support was also it disappeared in an instant, like an eggplant beaten by frost. He was really afraid that Yang Kai would stab him in a fit of anger. If the young lady was killed, this guy would definitely be in great trouble, but if he was killed, no one would stand up for him. "I was originally a guard, responsible for protecting the safety of the young lady, but now that I can't even protect my own life, how can I protect the young lady? It's fatal." The hatred in Fu Lao's heart, if he knew that this person is so powerful, if he knew that the group of people in Huang Quanzong are so useless, how could he take the initiative to come to the door to cooperate with Huang Quanzong, and took the young lady to provoke Yang Kai again and again? But then again, who knew that a first-level emperor senior could be so fierce? "Then, what do you want?" Elder Fu softened his momentum and asked weakly. "Now people are swordsmen, I am fish and meat, don't bow your head and don't do it. Let's put aside the humiliation for the time being, and wait until you survive, it is not too late for a gentleman to take revenge for 10 years. Yang Kai's face sank, and he said, "If you have revenge for revenge, if you have grievances for grievances, I won't say anything, everything can be one or two, your young lady is so obsessed, sooner or later she will cause a catastrophe, it's better for me now just clean up the door for the adults behind you, so he won't have to worry about it." Boss Fu was shocked, feeling that what he said just now was playing the piano to the cow. This man has murderous intentions, and he is determined to kill the young lady, what should I do? He didn't dare to hesitate any longer, and hurriedly said, "Do you know who we are, and who my young lady is, but she?" "Go away." Yang Kai kicked him without waiting for him to finish speaking. Fu Lao couldn't defend himself at all. He watched the big foot kick towards his face, let out a miserable cry, and flew out directly. His nose was almost collapsed by the kick, he fell to the ground and couldn't get up for a long time. After Yang Kai took care of Fu Lao, he stared at the girl in red, and said in a deep voice, "You annoying little goblin, Master Ben in the deserted city kindly let you go, you don't know how to be grateful, it's all right. He also teamed up with Huang Quanzong to bully me, and today I will take your life to let you know that there are some people in this world that you can't offend." Liner was shocked, Warong turned pale and said, "How dare you?" But before the words fell, she saw Yang Kai raising his sword and slashing at herself. In an instant, Liner's pretty face became extremely pale, and the breath of death enveloped her, making her whole body cold and her hands and feet cold. She has never experienced such an experience. Since she was a child, she has been pampered and pampered. Who would dare not listen to orders wherever she goes? Not to mention that someone dared to kill her. But now, there is such a person who wants her life. Not just talking about it, but actually doing it. She is only at the 3rd level of Daoyuan, and she spent a lot of money to cast the Emperor treasure just now, and now she can't even walk steadily. How can she be prepared for this blow? Death. So this is the feeling. Someone really dares to kill himself. Liner froze in place all of a sudden, as if she had been immobilized. Millions of swords slashed across the air. Yang Kai didn't hold back at all. When Emperor Yuan was agitating, even Fu Lao was able to break into two, not to mention the delicate Liner. But just as the million swords were about to strike, a pitch-black pendant on Liner's neck suddenly burst open, turning into a pitch-black barrier to wrap her in it. Boom! A loud noise came out, and the million swords slashed on the barrier, but it couldn't damage it, but Yang Kai was shocked back several steps. Yang Kai squinted his eyes, not surprised at all, as if he had expected it, he stared at the dark barrier and snorted coldly. And after the pitch-black barrier protected Liner, it immediately turned into a black light, circled around, and shot directly into Fu Lao who fell on the ground. Hum! The sky and the earth hummed, and an unimaginable coercion suddenly permeated, and it was obvious that the source point was where Fu Lao was. Clatter! Within a radius of 100 miles, birds and beasts scattered, as if sensing some danger, they fled desperately. Yang Kai also couldn't help swallowing his saliva, secretly guarding. He couldn't be more familiar with the scene in front of him, it was clearly the soul descending of a strong man. That day in the Sea of Broken Stars, Feng Shi played such a game, which was still fresh in his memory. These elites from the top sects seemed to have the means to suppress the bottom of the box. Emperor Ju pill is the most common one, and soul descending is undoubtedly more powerful. The full strength of the strong is not something ordinary people can deal with. The soul surrender of the strong brings not only the pressure of strength, but also the fear of prestige and reputation. There are only so many top powerhouses. Once the spirit descends, who dares to underestimate them? Feng Shi can make his father's soul descend to the sea of broken stars, so Miss Liner in front of her can naturally also make the strong man behind her descend to this place. Yang Kai already knew that there would be such a thing, so he didn't expect to kill Liner at all, but he couldn't get rid of the bad breath in his heart, which was really uncomfortable. To be continued. This text is provided by the Dawn Update group at Wei Hi Sheng Sheng. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2556 Ghost Emperor. Phone reading. The inexplicable strong man probably had his own considerations in choosing the soul to fall on Fu Lao. Firstly, Liner is a woman, which is somewhat inconvenient. Second, Fu Lao's strength is much stronger than Liner. More means, and it doesn't matter if Fu Lao's body is damaged afterwards. Copy URL to visit web links. Read the full text of the latest chapter. The soul descending of the strong places a huge burden on the body of the weak. Under Yang Kai's gaze, Fu Lao, who was lying on the ground, stood up straight. His gray hair was windless and his eyes were as deep as the sea, which made people feel awe. In the blink of an eye, Fu Lao's demeanor changed drastically, and his eyes swept over him, as if he could look down on the world and look majestic without being angry. Fu Lao's eyes swept away, staying on Yang Kai's body for a moment, and then turned to Liner, with a dull expression, not knowing how happy or angry. Liner seemed to have reacted at this moment. She reached out her hand to touch the place where the pendant was originally on her neck, and then looked at Mr. Fu. After meeting that familiar gaze, she couldn't help shrinking her neck. To what happened? Father, she called softly. Her voice was like a mosquito, and she was not happy that her father's soul had descended, but she had a scared expression on her face. HMPH. Fu Lao snorted coldly, and said lightly, "Shouldn't you be thinking behind closed doors? Why did you appear here?" Liner was speechless after asking a single sentence. Her eyes shrank and she didn't dare to look at her at all. Yang Kai's heart moved, feeling that this eldest lady ran out secretly. No wonder his father was so scared when his soul descended. Why do these little girls like to do this? Mo Shaoqi often runs out from Spirit Beast Island, and so does this one. They are all used to it. Yang Kai snorted coldly in his heart. What trouble did you cause again? Fu Lao asked. Liner didn't answer, but looked left and right, as if trying to find a way to escape. Why didn't you say what I asked you? Fu Lao suddenly shouted. Liner's delicate body trembled, and she blurted out like a conditioned reflex, "My daughter was bullied." While speaking, tears fell down, one by one, sliding down her fair cheeks, as sad as she wanted. How can there be the previous arrogance and domineering, which is completely different from the previous performance? Yang Kai was stunned, thinking that this eldest lady's acting skills are really good. It seems that she usually does such things. The tears came as they said. It flowed down like no money, and she was crying heartbroken, as if something happened to someone. She pointed at Yang Kai and said, "This is the person. Advertisement. He still wants to kill me. Dad, you have to make the decision for me." Fu Lao said with a blank expression, "Is there anyone else who dares to bully you? You are the one who bullied others and caused trouble everywhere. Have you been taught a lesson?" He seemed to know his daughter very well, so he didn't believe her words at all, and hit the point with a few words. Liner's crying stopped abruptly, and she opened her mouth wide to look at Fu Lao. "My lord is really wise." Yang Kai clasped his fists and said with a smile on his face. Fu Lao turned his head and looked at Yang Kai indifferently. "I am talking to my daughter. When is it your turn to interrupt?" Yang Kai couldn't help curling his lips. "Don't get bored anymore." Fu Lao Dao. "You don't seem surprised to see me." Yang Kai snorted. "What's so surprising? If it wasn't for your pampering and protection, with your daughter's temper and ability to cause trouble, how could she live to this day? I don't know where she died." This guy was not polite to him at all. Yang Kai didn't bother to give him a good face. Anyway, he was right about this time. Yang Kai didn't believe that he could really bully himself by bullying him. Feng Zai's father, Feng Zan, could disregard his face and forcefully stand up for his son, but this one in front of him is absolutely impossible. He also had to worry about his identity to some extent. It is precisely because of this that Yang Kai is not afraid at all. Liner glanced at Yang Kai in astonishment. She never expected that this guy would be so courageous to say such words in front of her father. This is not something everyone can do. How did she provoke such a person? Liner regretted so much that her intestines were green. Fu Lao's eyes sharpened, and he said in a concentrated voice, "Boy, are you accusing me of lax discipline?" Yang Kai snorted and ignored him. Why would you slap yourself in the face for such an obvious thing? Fu Lao saw his indifferent appearance. He was also very surprised, and said, "Aren't you afraid of me?" Yang Kai glanced at him and said, "What are you afraid of doing?" If he hadn't gone to the Broken Star Sea, Yang Kai might still be afraid, but he is not an uninformed person now. He has even seen the Great Emperor Hongqian and the Great Emperor Devourer, and he has long been experienced. "Do you know who this seat is?" Fu Lao asked again. Yang Kai was indifferent for a while, and then he cupped his fists and said, "Boy Yang Kai, I have seen Master Yuewen. This ceremony is not about fear, but respect for the strong." Fu Lao was really shocked now. Without him, Yang Kai broke his identity in one breath, which shows that he is not ignorant of his origin. Just as Yang Kai said, the one who descended from the soul was one of the top 10 emperors in the Star Realm, the great Emperor Yuewen, who was also the overlord of the eastern region, and he created the Yuewen Palace. The soul bond that circulates in the entire star world is also something created by this person. Yang Kai knew that it was only because of the attitude of Huang Quanzong and others towards Liner. After all, Huang Quanzong is also the top sect in the eastern region. If Liner's status was not more noble than them, how could they be so polite to her? Who else could be more noble than the people of Huang Quanzong? It is not surprising to know this when you are in touch with each other. How do you know? Old Fu frowned. Yang Kai smiled and said, "Yes." Fu Lao's eyes flickered for a moment, but he didn't dwell on this issue. He pondered for a moment and said, "Since you already knew Liner's background, why did you dare to kill her? Could it be, you want to lure me show up? This old guy, his head is not ordinary aura." After being pointed out by him, Yang Kai didn't hide anymore. He cupped his fists and said, "My lord's eyes are like a torch, this kid really has this intention." Of course, if he didn't show up, Yang Kai would really kill people. Liner provoked him again and again, and almost made him die at the hands of Huang Quanzong's people. Yang Kai couldn't pretend that this had never happened. Fu Lao asked curiously, "What do you want to do to lure me to appear?" Yang Kai sighed, and said with a bitter face, "My lord, there is nothing I can do about it, I was really forced by your daughter. It's none of my business." Liner didn't panic at the moment. Her father's soul descended here, her life is sure to be safe. What she has to worry about is that she will be detained for an unknown period of time if she is arrested this time. Yang Kai glanced at her, and said angrily, "If you didn't have this background, do you think you still have the life to speak now?" Liner snorted. She turned her head away and was too lazy to tell him apart, but recalling the scene where Yang Kai slashed with a sword just now without any hesitation, she still felt a little lingering in her heart, and knew in her heart that what he said was right. If it wasn't for her father's protection, she was indeed dead. Yang Kai frowned, clasped his fists and said, "Master Yuewen, your daughter made things difficult for me again and again. I don't want to care about her like this, but it's understandable for a little girl to be naughty. And let him go in the third place." Not only did she not appreciate it, but she colluded with the people of the Yellow Spring sect to ambush and kill me here. Beheaded here. Fu Lao raised his eyes and looked over there. He had found corpses all over the ground before, but he didn't expect that these people belonged to Huang Quanzong. The boy is so good. He is only a first-level emperor, how can he kill so many people? Yang Kai continued, "It is not a pity for everyone in the Yellow Spring sect to die, but your daughter really dare not make a mistake." You're lying." Liner pointed at Yang Kai angrily, and said coquettishly, "You clearly wanted to kill me just now." Yang Kai sneered and said, "If you don't want to worry about your life, how can you attract the adults?" Fu Lao squinted at Yang Kai and said, "What do you want to do after you lead me out?" Yang Kai was stunned for a moment, and said, "Sir, I dare not kill your daughter, but I have to vent this anger. Naturally, I can only ask you to come out and argue. Who said that the fist is not as big as yours?" Fu Lao sneered lightly. "What do you mean? Don't you think you deserve to be bullied?" Yang Kai was furious and said, "My lord, I almost lost my life because of your daughter. Look at the wound, it hurts very much." Fu Lao looked down and glanced at the 1-foot-long scar on Yang Kai's chest. He was a little moved. After suffering such a serious injury, this kid can still keep his expression on and talk to himself, which is a miracle. He is not afraid that he will smack him into a meatloaf. I understand. Then how do you argue with me? Fu Lao looked at Yang Kai leisurely. I'm here now, you can say whatever you want to say, you won't have a chance if it's too late. Yang Kai's face sank, and he said, Sir, don't you want to kill people to silence your mouth? If you do this kind of thing as an adult, how can you save face if you spread it out? Fu Lao Dao. No matter what your motives are, it is a fact that you want to kill my daughter. What does it matter if I kill you? Yang Kai was furious, and said angrily, My lord is going to bully others with his power, is he bullying the small with the big? The old guy is too shameless. I thought he was one of the top 10 emperors, and he was a person who wanted to save face anyway, but he was so unbearable. Liner over there was happy, and shouted, Father, stop talking nonsense with him, kill him quickly. Fu Lao sneered, looked at Yang Kai and said, Are you afraid? Yang Kai gritted his teeth and said, What are you afraid of? This young master has fought side by side with the great Emperor Hongqian, and it's not that he has never seen the great Emperor's ability. This young master has also seen people in the market, so there is nothing to be afraid of. As soon as this remark came out, Fu Lao suddenly had a strange expression, and said, Have you ever fought side by side with Hongqian? That's right. Yang Kai snorted, and said, If my lord descends, I will naturally run away, but now that my lord has only a ray of soul descending, how much ability can I show? Forgive me, I can pull you away before I die. If my daughter is buried with me, I don't know if the adults care about their daughter's life. To be continued. Opening parenthesis. Closing parenthesis. Chapter 2557 The Ghost Finger of This Seat. Phone reading. Yang Kai had a vicious look. He really had this plan, not just talking about it. Marshmallow Fiction Network www.meonwatang.com has almost all the books you want to read. It is much more stable than ordinary websites and updates faster. There are no advertisement reads in full text. Closing square bracket. Despicable. Liner's face turned pale with anger. This bastard really wanted to kill herself. He really wanted to kill him. Boy, don't fall into this lady's hands, otherwise you will definitely look good. If you don't believe me, you can try it. Yang Kai shook his million sword, posing as if he wanted to die with the enemy. Fu Lao's expression was indifferent, and he said softly, I have fought side by side with the great Emperor Hongqian. Boy, you are a bit arrogant. Are you not afraid of being exposed? Yang Kai Dao. The boy is just presenting the facts and reasoning, never bragging. That's right. Boss Fu laughed meaningfully, then paused and said, Just wait. What are you waiting for? Yang Kai stared at him in amazement, frowning slightly, not knowing what this person in front of him was trying to do, but he knew that he was definitely not his opponent, so he didn't dare to take it lightly. This person in front of him is not comparable to Feng Zan and his ilk, even though he just came from his soul. Yang Kai doesn't have much confidence to fight against him, but if it comes to running away, he still has some confidence. If not, how could he stand here and talk without changing his expression? Over there, old Fu's gaze was slightly lowered, he stood motionless on the spot. Yang Kai was suspicious, and dared not make any changes, lest he would offend others. The majestic high mountain is covered with white snow. In the snow mountain, there are stretches of buildings rolling up and down. From time to time, warriors fly past in the air. In the pavilions and pavilions below, there are also people coming and going, which is extremely lively. There are brothers from the same sect competing against each other, there are beautiful couples playing chess in a pavilion like flowers, and there are maid-servants passing by in groups, unsmiling and coming and going in a hurry. Countless plum blossoms are blooming, and the fragrance is bursting. Many tamed rare and exotic beasts are running in the mountains and forests, rolling up rays of light. It is a scene of a fairyland on earth, and the aura of heaven and earth is extremely strong. This is the Overlord sect of the eastern region, where the Ghost Palace is located. People who have never been to Yuewen Palace dare not imagine the scenery inside this sect. Just hearing the name of the sect, they would think that this place is full of ghosts, and the gap between imagination and reality is extremely wide. Advertise. On the highest mountain, under the cover of white snow, there is a palace, which covers a vast area, and the palace is deserted and deserted. And within 100 li radius of this mountain peak, there was not a single person, and even those birds and beasts scurrying about in the mountains did not dare to approach this place at all. Without him, this is the forbidden area of Yuewen Palace, where the Yuewen Emperor retreated and practiced. Yuewen is one of the top 10 emperors, and he has already stood at the pinnacle of the star realm. It is common for him to retreat for tens of hundreds of years. No one dares to come here to disturb him if he is not summoned. Even his children need to ask for instructions before they can set foot here. But even Yao Si, the young master of Yuewen Palace, hasn't seen his father for 3 full years. He only knew that his father seemed to be comprehending some secret technique, so he couldn't be disturbed. This moment, in the palace, under the flickering lights, 2 figures sat cross-legged. A man with black hair and beardless, wearing a black robe, with an indifferent expression but has the majesty of a natural superior. The daunting person is none other than the master of the Yuewen Palace, one of the 10 great emperors, the Yuewen Emperor. But the person sitting opposite him is a half-grown old man. This half-grown old man is not seated, his body is slumped. With a bored expression, his eyeballs rolled around, and he kept looking left and right, as if he wanted to see what valuable things were in this ghost place, and he was going to steal it while the ghost emperor was not paying attention. That face matched his actions at the moment. How can it be described as a sneaky one? If Yao Si saw this scene, he would definitely be shocked. Because only the father and a few of his closest confidants can set foot in this palace, and no outsiders have ever entered this palace. At this time, there is a half-grown old man of unknown origin sitting face to face with his father. None. If Yang Kai saw this scene, he would definitely be shocked. Because the half-grown old man was none other than Duan Hongqian, who had been separated from him not long ago in the Zhenwu desert. I don't know how Duan Hongqian came here, and he went directly to Emperor Yuewen. In the silence, there was only the crackling sound of lights, and suddenly, Emperor Yuewen slowly opened his eyes. Duan Hongqian was shocked, straightened his back, and asked eagerly, "Is the matter settled?" "Not yet." The ghost emperor shook his head slowly. Duan Hongqian was stunned, and said in astonishment, "Why do you open your eyes if it's not done? Why don't you solve it quickly? The old man still needs your help." He looked extremely blunt, as if he was very familiar with Emperor Yuewen. Emperor Yuewen smiled slightly and said, "You are not in a hurry, I have something to ask you." Duan Hongqian asked curiously, "Ask me. Is there anything you need to ask me?" Emperor Yuewen smiled and said, "There is a guy who doesn't know the heights of the sky and the depths of the earth. He said that he fought side by side with you. Is this true or false?" Yang Kai had only blown the cowhide over there, and he ran over to confront Duan Hongqian, and he didn't know how Yang Kai would feel when he found out. Duan Hongqian sneered, and said, "Believe what other people say, it's nonsense. When did this old man fight side by side with others? He must have used the old man's tiger skin as a banner to scare you. Send it away quickly. The old man's business is important." Yuewen nodded and said, "I think so too." He also felt that Yang Kai was bragging. Who is Duan Hongqian? Even if he cut off his cultivation base and his strength plummeted, he doesn't need to join forces with others to fight against the enemy, right? But Duan Hongqian happened to be in his ghost palace at the moment, so it didn't take much to ask casually. "Wait a minute," Duan Hongqian yelled again suddenly, with a strange expression on his face. He said, "What does the guy who said that look like?" He suddenly remembered that there was indeed a guy who fought side by side with him, and it was not long ago. Yuewen didn't answer, just waved his hand in front of him casually. The space between the two quickly rippled, and a clear scene was immediately imprinted in Duan Hongqian's eyes. It was Yang Kai who was standing in front of the exit of the ancient land passage with a million sword the scene, surrounded by dead bodies. Duan Hongqian took a look, the corner of his mouth twitched, and said, "Why is this kid?" Emperor Yuewen was stunned and said, "You know him?" Duan Hongqian's face suddenly became ferocious, and he gritted his teeth and said, "I also recognize him when I turn into ashes. Ghost, kill him quickly, and help me vent my anger, I will remember your favor." Emperor Yuewen sighed, and said, "Tian Che, if you run out and talk too much again, be careful that I won't be polite to you. My Yuewen finger is not a vegetarian." He could tell at a glance that it wasn't Duan Hongqian who spoke just now, but Wu Kuang, the heaven devourer who shared the soul of Duan Hongqian. Duan Hongqian gave a strange laugh, and said, "Yuewen, you are so courageous, you dare to speak to me in such a tone, I didn't see you have such courage back then." Emperor Yuewen smiled slightly, and said, "This seats Yuewen finger is not a vegetarian." He kept silent about what happened back then. Obviously he had also suffered a lot under Che Tian's hands back then. Duan Hongqian's face darkened, and he said, "Can you change the line? Is it interesting to keep threatening me with this?" The Yuehun Emperor didn't change his expression, still smiling. This seats Yuehun refers to. You are paralyzed. It's because the heaven-devouring emperor is recuperating well, so he couldn't help but swear at this moment. At this moment, Duan Hongchen shuddered suddenly, and the ferocious expression on his face disappeared instantly, replaced by a look of anger. Anyone who speaks well and is suddenly controlled by another soul may not have a good temper, but he and Che Tian can't do anything to each other. Do you really know this kid? Seeing that Chu Tian had been suppressed, Yuehun asked. Duan Hongchen smacked his mouth and said, the kid I told you about earlier is this person. Yuehun raised his brows and said, is he the one who joined forces with you to attack Chu Tian? Broke the good thing of Chu Tian? That's right, but the situation is more complicated, and I won't be able to explain it for a while. Anyway, you have seen the final result. Duan Hongchen said helplessly. Emperor Yuehun nodded slightly, and said, so, he really isn't bragging. What do you want to do with him? Duan Hongchen glanced worriedly at Yang Kai in front of the light curtain. He knew that Emperor Yuehun's soul descended to a certain place, and it seemed that his troublesome daughter had encountered some danger. The Emperor's soul descending was no joke, something had to be obtained before it was over. Just like some precious swords, if you take it out of the sheath, you must drink blood. The Emperor's soul descended, and he ran back without killing some people. That would be a shame. It's fine if it's someone else, but Yang Kai. Duan Hongchen really didn't want him to die at the hands of Yuehun. Anyway, he also helped a lot in the Sea of Broken Stars. Ghost glanced at him and said, you want me to let him go? They are all old monsters who have been cultivating for an unknown number of years. Yuehun knows what Duan Hongchen is thinking without pointing it out at all. It just so happens that this old thing owes him another favor. Yuehun secretly made a calculation in his heart. I have no relationship with him for no reason. Whether he lives or dies has nothing to do with me. You can do whatever you want, why ask me? Duan Hongchen flicked his sleeves, as if he had nothing to do with himself, and hung up. Look up. Yuehun can guess the thoughts in his heart, why can't he guess what Yuehun's plan is? I already owe him a favor, if I owe him another one, I'm afraid I'll be a ghost for the rest of my life. This loss-making business, don't do it. Okay, then I will kill him. Yuehun nodded. Although the little girl is a bit naughty, she is not something anyone can bully. Hey, Duan Hongchen smiled treacherously, and said, if you want your daughter to be buried with you, you can do it. Yuehun's face darkened, and he said, Duan Hongchen, you look down on me too much. Although I'm just a wisp of soul descending, it doesn't take much to win a first-level Emperor Senior. Duan Hongchen shook his head and said, it's impossible for an ordinary first-level Emperor Senior to be your opponent, but this kid, tisk tisk, he's not ordinary. If you want to take him down, I'm afraid it will take some effort. To be continued. Opening parenthesis. Closing parenthesis. Chapter 2558 Life is hard. Yuehun said angrily. Duan Hongchen, you should stop it enough. This is no longer looking down on that kid, but looking down on himself. How can Yuehun not be angry? Duan Hongchen said indifferently, he is proficient in the power of space. Is there such a thing? Yuehun was slightly surprised. Since Duan Hongchen said that the kid is proficient in the power of space, he is really proficient. Such a person is really hard to kill. He also learned that time flies like a shuttle. What? Time flies? Yuehun was really shocked at this time. Time flies, that is the supernatural power of Emperor Sui Yu, the only supernatural power involved in the law of time in the world. Even his ghost can't get a glimpse of it. As soon as the time flies, maybe he can really bury his daughter with him. By the way, the mountain and river clock is also in his hands. Duan Hongchen tossed out bits and pieces of information, but it seemed as if he was hitting Yuehun's body hard again and again, making his expression more and more exaggerated. Quietly looking at the past, Duan Hongchen was very happy. I don't know how he knew this. After all, Yang Kai had never exposed so many details in the Sea of Broken Stars. Emperor Yuehun already had a dull expression on his face, the corners of his mouth twitching constantly. After a long while, he said in a deep voice, that guy Yuan Ding's mountain and river clock. Duan Hongchen raised his eyebrows and said, besides the mountain clock, what other clocks are there? Ghost's expression twitched even more violently. Although he is one of the top 10 emperors and has a lot of god treasures in his hands, what is the mountain and river clock? When besieging Chu Tian back then, Chu Tian had to kill Yuan Ding first even though he was injured. The biggest reason was that he was afraid of Shan Zong's suppressing power. How could he, Yuehun, ignore something that even the Heaven Devourer was afraid of? The power of space, the speed of time, the clock of mountains and rivers. This kid's luck must be too good. How come he can get any good thing? One of the things that ordinary warriors can get is the smoke from the ancestral grave. He is lucky, he actually holds it all in his hands, and he doesn't know where is the family grave buried. Those who are not blessed have no luck. This kid's source of blessing is a bit against the sky. After being silent for a while, Yuehun snorted coldly. Why are you telling me these things? It's really boring. Duan Hongchen chuckled and said, let's chat casually. He knew that Ghost would not kill Yang Kai. Because he was not sure about beheading Yang Kai with his soul-descending body. If not, Duan Hongchen would not have revealed this information. While talking, Duan Hongchen urged impatiently. You should quickly settle the matter over there. The old man is still waiting for you to separate me from Chu Tian. This old dog has been entrenched in the old man's body. It's not convenient for my old man to go to the brothel to have some fun. The title of Yuehun Emperor Yuehun is naturally extremely proficient in the power of the soul, and he is also the one who has the most thorough research on the power of the soul among the top 10 emperors. That's why Duan Hongchen came to Yuehun Palace to ask the Emperor Yuehun for help, to see if he can help the Heaven Devourer. His soul was stripped from his body. If even the ghost can't do anything, then he can only maintain this state temporarily and think of another way. Thinking about the days to come, Duan Hongchen couldn't help shivering. Speaking of business, Yuehun also looked solemn, and said, Hongchen, I won't hide it from you, your situation is a bit tricky, and I may not be able to help you. Whether we can help you or not, we'll talk after we try. Duan Hongchen said in a deep voice. Ghost nodded and closed his eyes again. Outside the passageway of the ancient land, Yang Kai held the million sword, paying attention to Fu Lao all the time, not daring to take it lightly. After the ghost emperor who descended from the soul told him to wait, there was no movement suddenly, which made Yang Kai a little puzzled, not knowing what this guy was going to do. Do you want to take advantage of the unpreparedness and run away first? But if the matter here is not resolved, it may be targeted by the Ghost Palace. The Ghost Palace and the Netherworld sect are not at the same level. It is definitely not a good thing to be targeted by people from the Ghost Palace. After thinking about it, a bolder idea emerged. Do you want to act first and kill the two people in front of you? However, this idea was only turned around in his mind before being thrown out of his mind by Yang Kai. If you really do this, you will completely offend the Ghost Emperor. Let's take a look at the situation first. Yang Kai decided to stay the same. If Emperor Yuehun really wants to attack him, it's not too late to make plans. Thinking of this, he glanced at Linner, just in time to meet her eyes. Looking at each other, Yang Kai grinned grinningly, looking terrifying. Linner was taken aback, and quickly looked away, thinking what father was doing. Killing this kid would be the end, and her daughter would not stand out after being bullied, which is really sad. At this moment, Fu Lao, who had been standing still, suddenly looked up at Yang Kai as if he had come back to his senses. Yang Kai couldn't help swallowing his saliva, and said stiffly, "What advice do you have, sir?" The corner of Fu Lao's mouth raised slightly. He looked up and down at Yang Kai, and then at the more than 20 Netherworld sect disciples who died over there, knowing that these people really did not die unjustly. A person has so many sources of blessing, and he has teamed up with Emperor Hongchen to deal with Chu Tian, how can they be opponents? Shan Zhang, since this prehistoric treasure was taken out by Yuan Ding tens of thousands of years ago, there is still a moment to return to this place. I've pretty much understood what happened. Fu Lao said lightly, it's true that the little girl is making trouble for no reason, and it's nothing to do with you. Haha, my lord's eyes are as bright as a torch. Yang Kai relaxed after hearing this, knowing that he was in no danger, and Yuehun was the great emperor after all. Since he said so, he would definitely not trouble himself again. On the contrary, it was Linner over there who heard it, and pouted angrily, her face full of displeasure. Fu Lao nodded and said, the ancient land is dangerous, you should take care of it yourself. While speaking, he stretched out his hand towards Linner, and Emperor Yuan surged and captured Linner, and he was about to leave. Wait, Yang Kai shouted when he saw his posture. What else is there? Fu Lao turned his head and looked at Yang Kai impatiently. The corner of Yang Kai's mouth twitched, and said, Master, you don't want to just leave like this, do you? Are you kidding me? I was hurt by that messy woman, and I wanted to leave without giving any hint. Yang Kai wouldn't agree even if Heavenly King Lao Su came. Fu Lao was stunned, and said with a strange expression, what do you want? Yang Kai grinned, pointed at the gap in his chest, and hummed, "My lord, this injury was caused by your love, and the bones were all cut off. I'm afraid it won't work after a year or so of recuperation." Recovered. Fu Lao's eyes moved down, looking at the squirming granulation on Yang Kai's wound. The corners of his eyes couldn't help twitching. "Can't you treat yourself as blind now?" Although he didn't know what kind of body tempering technique he had practiced, this kind of injury could only be regarded as a flesh injury to him, and he would recover within a few days. How dare he say a year or so? It's just too presumptuous. Yang Kai didn't seem to notice his expression, and continued, "My lord also said that this ancient land is dangerous, and I need to break into it for something. If it is because of this wound that the boy fell, Ling Ai is also to blame. If this matter is rumored, it will definitely hurt your face, and others will definitely say that you condone your daughter's murder. Tisk tisk, do you still want your reputation? Dare to threaten me?" Fu Lao frowned slightly, and said with a dark face, "What do you want to do?" Yang Kai retracted his sword and said in a trembling voice, "The boy's strength is not bad, but he is not sure about breaking into this ancient land. If the adults can reward some defensive secret treasures casually and let me cover the wound, that would be the best." Quote. Fu Lao laughed back angrily, and said hesitantly, "What defensive treasure do you want? Tell me." Yang Kai said sternly, "The bowl in Ling Ai's hand. I think it looks good." Liner was shocked and said angrily, "You rascal, how dare you plan on my baby?" Yang Kai stared and snorted, "The adults are talking, children don't interrupt." Fu Lao looked at Yang Kai with a smile and said, "Do you want the Yugi bowl?" "Is that thing called the Yugi bowl?" Yang Kai raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "It would be the best if the adults can reward you. To tell you the truth, the kid is really shy in his pocket to travel the star boundary alone. I have arrived at Emperor Zun, but I have not been able to buy some convenient treasures. Life is hard. The mountains and rivers clocks are in your hands, but you still dare to cry for poverty. I believe you are a ghost." Fu Lao snorted coldly in his heart. "My lord is the supreme emperor of a generation, so there is no shortage of an emperor's treasure." Yang Kai continued to entangle. He was really interested in the jade osmanthus bowl. That thing is really good for defense, and he happened to lack the defense secret treasure. Putting it in Liner's hands is indeed a waste of money. If he gets it, it will be like a tiger with wings added. "My father is my father. I am me. Why are you staring at my baby?" Liner was so angry that her nose was crooked. This little thief was really hateful, and he had been entangled all the time. But he had already taught him a lesson. "You didn't pull this thing out. Look at my wound." Yang Kai raised his chest, and Liner turned his head in shock at the hideous wound. He always talked about the wound, but the wound looked really scary. Fu Lao was indifferent for a while, then nodded and said, "What you said makes sense. It's not impossible for you to give the cinnamon bowl." Hearing this, Yang Kai said that he was full of enthusiasm. He just wanted to fight for it. After all, the Yuehun Emperor had a great reputation, so he wanted some face. Even if he didn't give the Yugi bowl, it would be better to give him something else. Otherwise, the enmity between me and Liner is not in vain. But he never expected that Emperor Yuehun would be so easy to talk to. Hearing the meaning of these words, he really wanted to give the Yugi bowl to himself. Yang Kai's eyebrows danced, and he reached out to Liner directly, "Bring it." Liner opened her mouth wide and looked at Elder Fu, and said aggrievedly, "Father." Fu Lao remained calm and said indifferently, "The Yugi bowl can be given to you, but it can't be given for nothing. I will exchange one thing with you. If you agree, the Yugi bowl will be yours." Yang Kai suddenly became vigilant. "What? There are still conditions. What does this mean?" To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn Update group at Biaoming Dong Kong Shui. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2559 Change the Clock. Moreover, is there anything on him that would make someone like the Ghost King look up to him? 1,000,000 swords? Impossible. Although the 1,000,000 sword is good, it may not be in Yuehun's eyes. For a generation of great emperors, if there is no emperor treasure, why can't they get along with the 1,000,000 swords? Then what is he going to exchange with himself? Yang Kai thought about it, but he didn't want to understand what Yuehun meant by this move. What the adults want to change, couldn't be the kid's life. Yang Kai laughed. Fu Lao snorted and said, "What's the use of my life?" Yang Kai's face turned black, although he didn't think his life was worth much, but he would not be happy to be called a cheap life in front of his face. If he didn't care about the identity of the other party, he would have rushed to fight him. Just say whether you agree or not. Fu Lao looked at Yang Kai leisurely, with a playful look on his lips. You didn't explain clearly how I agreed. Do you really think that this young master has limited IQ like your daughter? With a cold snort, Yang Kai said, my lord can't speak clearly, so I'm sorry I can't accept it. This old monster in front of him has lived for an unknown number of years, and Yang Kai didn't dare to promise anything casually, lest he fall into his trap, and it would be a great joy to be held in his hands by then. Fu Lao said lightly, I want to exchange a bell for you. As soon as these words came out, Yang Kai was shocked and vigilant. Change the clock? What clock? What clock can I have besides the mountain and river clock? How did he know? In today's battle, Yang Kai didn't use the mountain and river clock at all, and the enemies who had seen the mountain and river clock before were all dead. How did the Ghost Emperor know this kind of thing? Could it be sensed? This is also very unlikely. The mountain and river clock has already been refined by myself. If it is not released to fight the enemy, others will not be able to sense it at all. But this old guy said so firmly, and he seemed to believe that he had a clock on his body, which made Yang Kai not sure whether he was bluffing himself or really confident. Could it be that they want to kill people and seize treasures? Yang Kai gritted his teeth secretly. If the Soul Eater really had this idea, he might have a hard time in the future. What clock? What does your lord mean? Yang Kai's thoughts changed sharply, but his face was expressionless, showing a puzzled look. Fu Lao looked at him jokingly, and said with a sneer, do you really don't know or you don't know? Yang Kai naturally didn't dare to show any flaws. He gritted his teeth and said, please tell me, my lord, I'm confused and don't know what you're talking about. He secretly felt ruthless in his heart. If the old guy mentioned the matter of the bell again, the young master would send his daughter to his death first. Fu Lao said, since that's the case, then I won't force you. While speaking, Di Yuan wrapped Liner in his arms and swept away. In the blink of an eye, he rushed into the passage of the ancient land and disappeared. He actually left as soon as he said it, so simply that he didn't give Yang Kai any time to react. Damn it, if you don't give me the cinnamon bowl, I'll give you some source crystal or something. This young master is hurting for nothing. After a while, Yang Kai finally came to his senses and cursed angrily. This time it was a big loss. Liner made things difficult for herself again and again, and even teamed up with Huang Quanzong to threaten her own life, but she just fought with Yuhan's Hunjiang for a while, and didn't even get any benefit. But soon, Yang Kai felt cold and wet behind him. The thing about Yuhan's sudden mention of the clock just now really scared him a lot. Looking around for a while, Yang Kai didn't dare to stay in place anymore, walked to the dead Netherworld sect disciple and put away their space rings, and then hurriedly rushed into the ancient land. Once out of the passage, it is considered to have officially stepped into the wild ancient land. This is an area that has never been developed, and it is one of the most dangerous places in the entire star world. Even if Emperor Senior Realm enters it, he can't guarantee his safety. In this ancient land, there are countless dangers that are difficult to resist. The many natural restrictions and the wild remnants living here are all life-threatening existences. There are even rumors that there are still holy spirits living in this ancient land, but it is not known whether it is true or not. Yang Kai went forward less than 100 miles before he noticed the weirdness of this ancient land. There is an inexplicable energy flowing in the surrounding air, and that energy seems to have the effect of suppressing the power of the warrior. The more inward this effect is, the more obvious it is. Towering ancient trees towered into the sky, and there were many strange flowers and plants that Yang Kai had never heard of growing on the ground, and an ancient desolate smell rushed towards him. Savage power. The whole barbaric ancient land is filled with this peculiar barbaric power, which comes from the prehistoric power when the world first opened. Under this kind of power, any living being will feel a sense of insignificance. Under the suppression of this kind of power, any warrior who breaks into it will not be able to exert its full strength. Yang Kai felt it for a while, and found that this savage force did not suppress him at all. Erosion into the body is like a breeze blowing on the face, so you can ignore it. There is a wild treasure like the mountain and river clock in his body, and all the savage power that invades the body is actively resolved by the mountain and river clock. Realizing this, Yang Kai felt relieved. He had already noticed it when he drank wild wine before, although he had some guesses in his heart, but he didn't really confirm it until now. It seems that with the mountain and river clock, it is a great advantage for him to walk in this wild and ancient land. Yang Kai is very happy. Fortunately, I got this opportunity in the Sea of Broken Stars, otherwise I really wouldn't have this convenience. As he walked, he he took out a piece of jade slip, and checked the topography of the jade slip against the outside scenery. This was a jade slip given to him by Pai San, and it contained rubbings of all known landforms of wild and ancient lands, as well as monsters, distribution of animals. It's just that the information in this jade slip is incomplete, and the entire ancient land does not know how big the area is. So far, what the warriors have explored is probably less than 1/10 of the ancient land. But with this jade slip in hand, Yongkai can save a lot of trouble. An hour later, he had completely entered the ancient land, found a cave and walked in. It is unknown what kind of monsters occupy this cave. The cave is dry and spacious, but there is no sign of monsters, and it is not clear whether they went out to look for food or were killed by someone. Yongkai estimated that the latter possibility was the majority, because it was not far from the entrance. Warriors who came in from the entrance could easily find it, and monster beasts generally had no living space in this kind of place. She released Zhang Ruoxi with a wave of her hand, and said, "I want to heal my wounds, you help me protect the law, pay attention to resisting the wild power, if there is any movement or if you can't hold on, just call me." "Yes." Zhang Ruoxi obediently responded. Seeing the terrifying injury on Yongkai's shoulder, her heart trembled inexplicably. She didn't ask any further questions, and went directly to the entrance of the cave and sat down cross-legged. Inside the cave, Yongkai took out some healing pills and put them in the entrance, closing his eyes and refining them. His injury is actually not serious. Even if it is not treated, it will only take a few days to recover, but Yongkai dare not be careless when walking in this kind of place. In case the bloody smell from the wound causes some unnecessary troubles, it is really not worth the candle. So he thought about healing his wounds first, and he was not in a hurry to find small things. At the wound, the granulation squirmed and healed towards the middle continuously. It looked scary. Yongkai's body's resilience was already strong. Now with the healing pill, it might not take a day or two to recover. Outside the cave, Zhang Ruoxi obeyed Yongkai's instructions and urged Yuanli to protect her body. At the beginning, she was still a little worried about the so-called savage power. After all, Yongkai had mentioned this thing to her before, and knew that all warriors who entered the ancient land would be suppressed by the savage power. More powerful. Although she has a Daoyuan third-layer cultivation base, she can't help Yongkai at all during this journey. She was even taken into the mysterious boundary bead by Yongkai when she walked the last part of the ancient land passage. Zhang Ruoxi hated her low strength in her heart. Not only could she not solve Yongkai's problems, but she was still his burden. The wound on the sir's shoulder was so big, he didn't know how much blood he had bled, how painful it was, let alone how painful it was at that time dangerous. Everything she has now is given by her husband. If there is no husband, I am afraid that she will be snatched back and ruined by the white-eyed wolves of the Lu family, and even a small family of the Zhang family will not be able to continue to gain a foothold in Fenggulan City. Mr. not only saved her, but also saved the entire Zhang family, and gave her countless cultivation resources, which made her achieve what she is today. She didn't know why her husband brought her out of the Zhang family back then, but after all these years, she was used to traveling all over the world with him. But when will I be able to prevent disasters for my husband? You can't always be protected by your husband like this, even if you let yourself take care of his daily life, making the bed and making the quilt. It's just that he hasn't done much of this kind of thing. Zhang Ruoxi bit her red lips lightly with her white teeth. Her atrium was tugged. A heart yearning to become stronger prompted her to meditate and meditate silently. This is an unconscious action. But soon, Zhang Ruoxi was taken aback and stopped immediately. Without him, she suddenly remembered that this is a wild ancient land. The aura of heaven and earth here is full of wild power. It is not a place where you can practice at all. If you inhale the wild power into your body, not only can you not absorb it, but it will also hinder your cultivation refinement. Realizing this, Zhang Ruoxi suddenly turned pale, and quickly checked her situation. It doesn't matter after this inspection, Zhang Ruoxi is at a loss because of her own situation. Because she found that although she had inadvertently absorbed some savage power, it didn't seem to be harmful to her. Instead it spread out in her body and became the source of her own strength. In this short period of time, the efficiency of cultivation is almost twice as high as before. How is this going? Zhang Ruoxi looked surprised. She couldn't figure it out. She wanted to ask Yongkai. After all, Mr. knew more than herself, but Yongkai was currently recovering, so she couldn't disturb her. To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn update group at Cha Shang Meng Sao. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is the author's greatest motivation. Chapter 2560 Change of Blood Gate. After being indifferent for a long time, Zhang Ruoxi braved the courage to perform the exercises again. This time she felt it carefully, and found that if she cultivated here, besides the aura of heaven and earth, there would also be wild power absorbed into her body. But the strange thing is that these two powers are of great benefit to her, especially the savage power, which makes her feel like she can't stop. What's wrong? There won't be any problems with your body, right? This is savage power. Zhang Ruoxi suddenly became frightened, and she didn't dare to practice anymore. She cut off the operation of the exercises, and sat silently on the spot, with a confused expression on her face. She really couldn't find a reason for this. The only possible explanation was her own bloodline, because the husband said that the power of her bloodline was extremely strange, and she didn't know what kind of inheritance it had. She herself was also very strange, because the exercises she used for cultivation were comprehended by herself, not taught by the Zhang family. It seemed that these things were engraved deep in her mind, and she knew how to practice the exercises as soon as she practiced. It's okay to just sit there, the surroundings are quiet and peaceful. Zhang Ruoxi thought for a while, and took out the ethereal jade from the space ring. Before entering here, the husband gave this thing to himself, and asked her to study it more, saying that it was possible to unlock the secret of her blood power. As soon as she took it out at this moment, Zhang Ruoxi suddenly trembled and looked up in a certain direction. That feeling came again. In the dark, it seems that something is resonating with the ethereal jade in her hand, calling to her from afar, making the blood flow in her whole body accelerate, making her extremely hot. This feeling has happened once before, and now I am experiencing it again, so that Zhang Ruoxi can be sure that this is not an illusion. But it was only fleeting, and when Zhang Ruoxi felt it carefully again, she couldn't find anything. All kinds of beautiful scenery still flashed on the ethereal jade disc. Zhang Ruoxi held it in her hands and studied it over and over for a long time, but she had no clue what it was for. Dense jungle, deep in the ancient land. This is the true depth of the wild ancient land, a place where no human race has ever set foot. For hundreds of millions of years, only various wild species lived here and multiplied continuously. This place seemed to be another world, completely different from the four realms of the star realm. On the majestic mountain, an oval-shaped thing that is exuding blood-red light is shining brightly. This thing is blood-red, as if it was poured from blood, but it also exudes a strange fragrance. Blood Gate. The monster clans living in the depths of the wild ancient land all know that there is a blood door here, but no one can enter it, let alone what kind of secrets this blood door hides. However, in the ancient land, it is rumored that there is a mystery in the blood gate that can allow the creatures of the ancient land to evolve into holy spirits. Today's creatures of the ancient land more or less have the blood power of the ancient holy spirit in their bodies, but the amount is different. Even a small snake that looks very ordinary, going back to ancient times, might be related to the dragon clan. Once the ancient blood hidden in the body is activated, the creatures of the ancient land can have the strength comparable to the ancestors of the Holy Spirit. Throughout the ages, how many of the hundreds of millions of living beings have successfully tapped out the power of their own blood and evolved into holy spirits? Full blows and full calculations, no more than 2 palms. But in the rumors of the various races in the ancient land, the blood gate has mysterious power, which can allow the monster race or wild remnants who enter it to fully develop the power of blood veins. Once successful, there is a great chance to reappear the ancestors were brilliant and evolved into the Holy Spirit. Because of this rumor, the place where the blood gate is located is the holy land of all races in the entire barren ancient land. Countless creatures who think they have strength or chance, want to pass through the blood gate one after another, wanting to stimulate their own blood. But none of them succeeded. They couldn't even get close to the blood gate, but within 10 miles of the blood gate, most of the creatures in the ancient land would turn into puddles and die miserably. There was once a mighty demon king whose strength had reached the peak of the 12th step and came here before the deadline, wanting to fight hard. Because his lifespan was nearing the end, if he didn't think of a way, he might die of old age soon. Blood Gate is his last hope. The peak of the 12th step, that is equivalent to the powerhouse of the Emperor's senior third layer realm of the human race. How many such existences are there in the entire star world? But he tried his best, but he only came 3 miles away from the Blood Gate, and couldn't get any further. Finally, he persisted for 3 days and 3 nights, but still turned into pus, and his soul flew away. Since then, no ancient creature has dared to approach the Blood Gate at will. Even the Demon King at the peak of the 12th step cannot enter the blood gate and open the blood. How can other creatures have the courage to try? The blood gate became a forbidden place in the ancient land for a while, and no creature in the ancient land dared to approach it at will, for fear of dying inexplicably. Although this incident is a long time ago, among the creatures in the ancient land, no matter whether it is the monster race or those wild relics, they all have extremely long lifespans, so many monster kings or one overlord have personally experienced this incident, and they have also witnessed that the 12th order the tragic fate of the peak demon king. Under their severe warning, their subordinates dare not approach the blood gate at all. At this moment, the blood gate standing on the top of the mountain, which has not changed for countless years, suddenly burst into dazzling red light. The red light gathered into a beam of light and shot straight into the sky, breaking a big hole in the clouds in the sky. But soon, the beam of light disappeared, leaving only a little red light, which gradually dissipated in the midair. Hundreds of miles away from the blood gate, a pitch-black python was wrapping its thick body around its prey, strangled it tightly, and opened its bloody mouth to swallow the prey. The direction it is facing is exactly where the blood gate is. The scene where the red beam of light rises and disappears is clearly seen by it. Wu Python's eyeballs widened for a moment, staring fixedly at the place where the blood gate was located, his eyes full of horror. Don't be afraid of not doing it, the legend of the blood gate is too terrifying. The blood gate has been standing there for so many years without any changes. Who wouldn't be worried when it suddenly came out like this? However, the accident happened very quickly, and it didn't affect it, and it finally made it feel at ease. After waiting for a long time without daring to move rashly, and seeing that there was no abnormality in the blood gate after a while, it suddenly twisted its body, and accompanied by the sound of dislocation of bones, the size of the huge black python with a body length of more than 5 feet had undergone a huge change. In the blink of an eye, the black python turned into a dark-complexioned middle-aged man in a pitch-black robe with dark eyes. His mouth is still a big bloody mouth, full of fangs, and his prey is still dangling in his mouth. His appearance is as scary as it looks. With a chirp sound, the middle-aged man transformed by the black python suddenly sucked the prey into his belly, and his belly suddenly became round, as if he was pregnant in October. He reached out and patted his belly again, and the round belly immediately deflated. Something has happened, you have to tell your lord immediately. The middle-aged man muttered for a while with a cloudy expression. His body surged with evil energy, turned into a black light and fled towards the distance rapidly. Looking at the power fluctuations emanating from his body, it is actually at the 11th level, which is almost equivalent to a martial artist in the Tao origin realm. An hour later, in front of a huge mountain, outside the mountain gate, a black light came from far and near. The two monsters guarding the gate immediately became vigilant. One of them pulled out a bone hammer, and the other held 2 bone spurs, staring at the black light. Who is it? The monster clan holding the bone hammer snarled, pointed to the front and said, "This is the bedroom of the Rhinoceros Thunder Demon King. Come and show your real body quickly, otherwise you will be killed without mercy." Kill unforgiven. The monster clan holding 2 bone spurs also shouted, aggressively. The black light suddenly stopped not far in front of them, revealing his true face. It was the middle-aged man transformed by the black python. "My own family, my 2 elder brothers, I am also Lord Xilei's subordinate. If I have something important to report to my lord, please pass it on." The middle-aged man cupped his hands and said. The 2 monster clans at the gate looked at each other, and looked at him suspiciously. It's not because the 2 monster clans guarding the mountain gate have no eyesight, but there are many monster clans here, and the Xilei Demon King has hundreds of thousands of monster clans under his command. They are all scattered in this area with a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles. Besides the ones I usually see, who else knows anyone? Moreover, the Rhinoceros Thunder Demon King is not something that anyone can see whenever they want. The monster who was pinching the bone spur snorted coldly. You say that you are your own people. What evidence do you have? The middle-aged man seemed to have known about this question. He quickly reached out and took out something from the space ring in his hand, and handed it over respectfully. The Yaozu naturally wouldn't refine such things as space rings, but they couldn't resist the human race who came in to die. If a human warrior died here, the space ring would naturally be snatched by the Yaozu. The middle-aged man also killed a human warrior, so he only has a space ring. It is very convenient to put everything in it. The melon seeds of the human brain are very useful, and the secret treasures and panacea that are refined are also very good, but it is a pity that no one in the monster race can refine them. The Yaozu who was carrying the bone hammer took it, and found that it was a token made of bone. On the front of the token, there was a picture of a galloping rhinoceros, and on the back there was a huge Chinese character for thunder. This is exactly the token made by the Xile Demon King. Although it is rough, no one can imitate it, because the material for making this token comes from the bone of the same monster. The two demon clans guarding the gate had seen many tokens like this, so they knew that the token was real at a glance. There are not many monster clans who can get this token. Among the hundreds of thousands of monster clans, only about 2,000 monster clans can get it. This is a symbol of status. So when the middle-aged man took out this bone token, the faces of the two demon clans guarding the gate looked a lot better, and the demon clan holding the bone spur said, "Although you are also under the command of the adults, I can't let you in." The adults said, "Don't bother him with small things, if you have anything, we can pass it on for you." The middle-aged man said anxiously, "It's not a trivial matter, I have to tell the adults face to face. It might be a great achievement, how can a middle-aged man borrow the hands of others?" To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn Update group at Biaoming Dong Kong Shui. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2561 Rhino Thunder. Even though the middle-aged man and the two demon clan guarding the gate had worn out their tongues, they couldn't get them to agree to pass it on. Forced to be helpless, the middle-aged man could only take out a little gift, and there was nothing good in the barren mountains and mountains. It was nothing more than the inner alchemy taken from some monsters he killed. The inner alchemy is a hard currency among the creatures of all races in the wild and ancient land, because anyone can use the inner alchemy to improve their strength. This made the two men smile and discuss with each other for a while. One of the monsters turned to the insider, obviously to report up. The man transformed by Wu Meng really realized what it means to be nice to the king of Hades, but hard to deal with little ghosts. With the other remaining gatekeeper demon clan, they chatted to pass the time, and secretly felt ruthless in their hearts. When they get rewarded for their great achievements this time, they will definitely let you know how powerful I am, and dare to show embarrassment to me here. I have to spit out everything I eat. After a while, the demon clan who went to communicate had already come back, and he cupped his hands at the middle-aged man and said, "My lord is in a good mood today, I allow you to see me, just go." The middle-aged man thanked him and hurried up the mountain step by step. The two monster clan guarding the mountain gate were left behind to play with a few inner alchemy, feeling happy. Although no one took it with him, it is obviously not the first time for the middle-aged man to come here, but he is quite familiar with the road. He went all the way, passed a few checkpoints, and soon came to the top of the mountain. There was a palace on the top of the mountain. The buildings are different from those of the big and small sects in the Star World. The palace has a rough and heroic style everywhere. Huge stones are piled up, and there is no beauty at all. Outside the palace, there is a huge statue. The unique rhinoceros sculpture, with four hooves galloping, seems to be charging, mighty and unstoppable. The real body of the rhinoceros Thunder Demon King is a rhinoceros, and I don't know what chance he got, which allowed him to cultivate to the peak of the 12th step, and he was able to sit in this wild ancient land, with hundreds of thousands of demon clans under his command. In the whole barbaric ancient land, there are 32 existences like Xile, who are under the control of the four holy spirits. The territory is divided and they do not invade each other. Each family has 8 demon kings, all of whom have powerful cultivation bases at the peak of the 12th level. How dangerous is the ancient land? Of course, it is impossible for outsiders to know these things. It is said that the wild ancient land is full of crises and chaos. In fact, the real depths of the ancient land already have their own way of life. When the middle-aged man came to the palace, the demon clan guarding the gate verified his identity and let him in. It's not careless, the main reason is that the middle-aged man's cultivation level can't make any waves in front of the rhinoceros Thunder Demon King, and the demon clan has always been eclectic in their actions and they don't pay much attention to them. Otherwise, in a human sect, how could it be so easy for a Daoyuan realm to meet a third-tier emperor senior realm powerhouse? Entering the palace, there was a burst of melodious voices, singing and dancing, surrounded by silk and bamboo, which made the middle-aged man stunned, subconsciously thinking that he had gone to the wrong place. But when I looked up, I found that there was a burly man sitting cross-legged on the top of the hall, and on the table in front of him was the corpse of an unknown monster. The burly man was holding the corpse of the monster with both hands, eating it up, with blood dripping down from the corner of his mouth, looking extremely frightening, but he was still eating with gusto, his eyes gleaming red. The middle-aged man's calf twitched and he almost ran away. I have heard for a long time that these demon kings like to eat the flesh and blood of their subordinates, and I thought it was just a rumor, but it turned out to be nothing when I saw it today. That burly man was undoubtedly the Rhinoceros Thunder Demon King, and the middle-aged man had met him once before, so he recognized him immediately. Zile gnawed a few mouthfuls of flesh and was in a happy mood, laughing unceasingly. On the left and right sides of him, there are two other female attendants with exposed clothes and large pieces of snow-white bodies exposed in the air, breathing hard. While Zile was laughing, one of the women reached out to pick up a grape-like spirit fruit on the table, peeled it, and stuffed it into Zile's mouth. Zile yelled loudly, hugging the woman and wantonly assaulting her. A moment later, the woman also had blood on her mouth, but she was not annoyed, instead she was happy, and stretched out her scarlet tongue to lick the blood away from her mouth. The slutty look is simply outrageous. The middle-aged man was terrified watching from below, but he yearned for it endlessly. He didn't know when he would be able to have such a cultivation level as Zile, and then he would be able to enjoy the blessings of all people and let the beauties fall into his arms. And in the lobby below the table, there were even a few vixen who sang and danced, with thin waists and fat buttocks, dressed in what can only be described as immoral. The middle-aged man was stupefied for a moment, his eyeballs rolled around, and he didn't know which beauty to put on. The beauty who was violated by Shile before seemed to have noticed the existence of the middle-aged man, the corners of her mouth curled up, showing a smiling expression, and she looked at him tenderly with watery eyes, almost taking the middle-aged man's soul away up. She moved closer to Zile's ear and whispered something. Only then did Zile raise his eyes to look at the middle-aged man, and with a wave of his hand, those foxes below immediately retreated to the side. The middle-aged man didn't dare to be presumptuous at this moment. He quickly walked forward without looking sideways, knelt down and said, "The villain Wu Jue, I have met the adults." Shile said in a deep voice, "You were the one who said you had something important to report earlier." "Exactly. Tell me, you have to meet this king for anything. If it's a trivial matter, be careful with your head." Wu Jue's face darkened, but he didn't dare to hide it, and hurriedly said, "Master, it's about the blood sect." Blood Gate. The Rhinoceros Thunder Demon King stood up suddenly, and the female demons of all races in the hall also covered their red lips together, staring at Wu with their beautiful eyes. The meaning of the word, blood door, is too great for the creatures of the ancient land. It is rumored that there is a mystery hidden in the blood door that allows the creatures of the ancient land to activate the power of blood and evolve into the Holy Spirit. Zile, even a 12th level peak monster race, couldn't restrain his desire to enter the blood gate. If it can really evolve into a Holy Spirit, then it can rewrite the pattern of the ancient land for tens of thousands of years, and make the 4 great saints of the ancient land become the 5 great saints. Stand back. Zile waved his hand and shouted loudly. Realizing the explosiveness of the news, he was also a little uneasy. "My lord," one of the 2 female demons who served him before leaned forward, with a cute look, obviously wanting to stay and listen. Zile turned his head, staring at her with red eyes. The banshee's delicate body froze. She didn't dare to be presumptuous, she hurriedly retreated, and quickly disappeared with the others. "Come on, what's wrong with the blood gate?" Shile asked in a deep voice after all the people disappeared. Wu Jue hurriedly said, "There is a change in the blood gate." "What's the change?" Shile asked in shock. Wu Jue quickly told the scene he had seen before. After Zile heard it, he frowned and looked uncertain. The main reason is that this change is too obvious, it is impossible for his subordinates to fake it, and he cannot be the only one who sees it. When the time comes to confront the monsters near the blood gate, the truth will become clear, but what does this change mean? It has been many years since the blood gate appeared, and it has never changed. It just stood quietly on the top of the mountain, but now it suddenly became red and bright, and it shot straight into the sky, which is obviously abnormal. In any case, this news is extremely important to any ancient creature. Zile walked back and forth in the main hall a few times, his face seemed hesitant. After a long while, he stopped and said, "You, follow me to meet the Holy One and tell you what you saw in full." Holy, holy, Wu Jue almost bit his own tongue. There are 4 holy venerables in the whole ancient land, and Zile is loyal to one of them now, but these 4 holy venerable dragons can't see their heads and tails, and ordinary monsters can't see them at all. Or, it doesn't just mean seeing each other. Wu Jue never thought that he would be able to see the Holy One one day. But soon, he became excited, because since he was going to meet the Holy One, it meant that the news he brought was extremely important. Maybe he could really make a great contribution and become prosperous from then on. He didn't expect too much. After all, his own strength is there. He only hopes to get some rewards. If he can be promoted to a demon general, that would be the best. Then he can command some subordinates, and sit on a mountain. No. It's better than being alone now, running around, trying to survive. After settling his mind, Wu Jue clasped his fists and said, "Follow your lord's order. Let's go." Zile also has the temperament of wind and thunder. Since he decided to meet the Holy One, he didn't hesitate at all. Wrapped in a gust of evil wind, Wu Jue was swept up, and he rushed out of the hall. "This news, besides you, who else knows?" Shi Lei suddenly asked. Wu Jue said, "The villain must not be the only one who saw the change in the blood gate, but the villain has rushed to report to the adult non-stop. I really don't know who else found out." Zile nodded slightly, knowing that what he said was correct. The change was so obvious, he must not be the only one who noticed it. Maybe now all the 32 demon kings knew about it, and they must all be rushing to the Holy Venerable. Take the credit for being the first to report. Wu Jue rolled his eyes, didn't know what he thought of, and sighed, but the villain's status is low. When I came here to ask for an interview, I was blocked by 2 guys under the mountain gate for a long time, and I was not allowed to enter. In the end, I was still a villain. Take out all the belongings and give them to them, so they can let them go." After finishing speaking, he still looked at Zile anxiously and said, "Did you miss the business of your lord?" With a dark face, Zile shouted loudly, "It's getting more and more outrageous." When the words fell, he suddenly punched down. Click. A thunderbolt exploded, causing Wu Jue's eardrums to hurt, and a lightning bolt as thick as a bucket struck down from the sky, rushing downward like a dragon. After a while, there was a roar, mixed with 2 screams that stopped abruptly. Wu Jue looked down, and saw that the mountain gate was in a mess. A huge hole appeared on the ground, and the 2 monster clans guarding the mountain gate had long since disappeared. To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn update group at Cha Shang Meng Sao. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is the author's greatest motivation. Chapter 2562 Come and Catch Me. A day later, Yang Kai walked out of the cave. The wound on his shoulder had healed, and he also changed into a new set of clothes to avoid unnecessary trouble caused by the smell of blood. Zhang Ruoxi, who was guarding the entrance of the cave, heard the movement and got up quickly, only to find that Yang Kai's complexion was ruddy, so she was relieved. Although she also knew that Yang Kai's injury was not serious, she was still worried. The 2 looked at each other. Yang Kai nodded. Zhang Ruoxi said, "Sir, I found a strange thing." "What's wrong?" Yang Kai asked strangely. Zhang Ruoxi hastily told about her previous cultivation, then looked at Yang Kai, expecting him to answer 1 or 2 questions. Yang Kai didn't know what the problem was, and it was not easy to show his ignorance in front of Zhang Ruoxi, so he could only ponder for a while pretending to be a posture, and said, "Be careful, there is no big mistake. You should not practice in this ancient land for the time being. If you need to recover your strength, use source crystals and spirit pills as much as possible, and enter the mysterious small world if you really can't." Zhang Ruoxi was naturally obedient, without the slightest hesitation, hesitated for a while and said, "What should I do, mister?" Yang Kai smiled and said, "I'm fine, the wild power here can't do anything to me." Zhang Ruoxi was surprised. She looked at Yang Kai with a look of admiration. A little star almost appeared in her beautiful eyes. She thought that Mr. is very powerful. "I heard that the wild power here would be affected to some extent even if the Emperor came in person, but when Mr. there's nothing wrong with it." Yang Kai coughed lightly and said, "Let's go." As soon as he finished speaking, his expression suddenly changed. He turned his head to look in one direction, and shouted loudly, "Who is sneaking around?" Zhang Ruoxi was also taken aback. She stayed here all the time, and didn't find any traces of creatures approaching at all. She didn't expect her husband to come out like this as soon as she showed up. She turned her head and looked around, following Yang Kai's gaze towards a big tree. There was nothing unusual there, and the silence was a little outrageous. Even after scanning her divine sense, she didn't find anything wrong. Yang Kai snorted coldly. "Hide your head and show your tail. Do you want me to invite you out?" After the words fell, there was a pattering sound from the canopy of the big tree, and then, a head poked out from the dense bushes, and a pair of bright big eyes turned around, looking at Yang Kai and Zhang Ruoxi. He looked at it and grinned. Zhang Ruoxi's face turned dark. In such a ghostly place, someone suddenly smiled at me like that, it felt too abrupt. Yang Kai was surprised, and looked at the man's face carefully, only to see that the man's hair was disheveled, and the strands of hair seemed to have not been washed for countless years, all tangled together, like black snakes covering the top of the head superior. And this person's face was also pitch black, and he couldn't see his true face clearly, only his eyes were extremely bright, and his teeth were as white as washing. Woman. Although he couldn't see his face, Yang Kai could tell at a glance that this person was a woman. There is no woman who doesn't love beauty, but this woman looks messy, even more embarrassed than the Red Dust Emperor Yang Kai saw in Fenggalan City at that time, and she doesn't know what happened in this wild ancient land. Not only that, Yang Kai instinctively felt that there seemed to be some problems with this person's sanity, because at this moment she was hanging upside down on the tree trunk. Although her eyes were bright, they gave people a feeling of confusion. But what Yang Kai cares more about is her concealment technique. If she hadn't suddenly made a noise on the tree just now, Yang Kai really didn't realize that she was hiding here. Who was this? Divine sense swept over and felt the weak energy fluctuations in her body. Yang Kai was startled. This person was actually a Emperor Senior 2-layer powerhouse. Just when Yang Kai was suspicious, the woman suddenly smiled and said, "Come and catch me." While speaking, his body suddenly fell from the tree trunk like catkins, and before he hit the ground, he twisted his waist and shot into the jungle in an instant, disappearing, leaving only a string of laughter like silver bells. "Come and catch me, come and catch me. Catch your wife." The corner of Yang Kai's mouth twitched, becoming more and more sure that this woman had a mental problem. Otherwise, how could a dignified second-level emperor act like this? Not only is he dressed sloppily, but he also speaks inexplicably. When he came to the wild ancient land and met such a crazy woman, Yang Kai really didn't know what to say. How could he be in the mood to play peekaboo with her? "Sir, her clothes." Zhang Ruoxi seemed to have discovered something, covered her red lips with her hand, and stared in shock at the direction where the crazy woman disappeared. What happened to the clothes? Yang Kai frowned. When the crazy woman fell from the tree trunk earlier, Yang Kai also glanced at it. It was the same as her appearance, her clothes were tattered, and she was happy when she moved a little bit. She didn't know what color it was, anyway. It's gray now, as if it hasn't been washed in years. "Sir, don't you think it looks familiar?" Zhang Ruoxi asked without answering. Yang Kai was stunned. After she reminded him, he suddenly became confused. "That's the costume of a Bingxin Valley disciple," Zhang Ruoxi said anxiously. "Are you sure?" Yang Kai's eyes widened. Zhang Ruoxi said, "When I was in Icewheel City in the Northern Territory last time, I also met many disciples of Bingxin Valley. They should wear the same clothes as the one just now. Although they are tattered, the ice flower logo on the chest can't be done. Fake. Why did the Bingxin Valley disciple come here?" Yang Kai was shocked. Bingxin Valley is in the Northern Territory, and here is the Eastern Territory. There are thousands of mountains and rivers between the two regions. It is impossible for ordinary people to come here, but it is also relieved to think that this wild ancient land is a treasure land coveted by the powerhouses of the entire star realm. He can also be regarded as a disciple of the southern region, and he can even come here. It is so strange for people from the northern region to come here. This is a place where the strong from the 4 regions gather and dragons and snakes mix together. But he didn't quite understand one thing. Under Bingyan, the founder of Bingxin Valley, there are not many strong people, and the Emperor Senior realm is even rarer. How could there be a disciple of the second-tier Emperor Senior realm here, and his mind is so weak? And something went wrong. Thinking about it, Yang Kai's eyes suddenly lit up and he remembered one thing. Back then, when Bing Yun returned to Bingxin Valley from the secret realm of silence, and Ruian, her first disciple, had reported something to her. After Bing Yun disappeared, her third disciple went out to look for it, but there were no clues, and in the end even the 3 disciples disappeared. It has been 3,000 years, and they do not know whether they are alive or dead. When Ruian reported the matter, Yang Kai was beside him, and he was also sobbing at the time, thinking that the third child was probably more ominous than good. After all, the star realm is dangerous. If the third child is still alive, it is impossible that there will be no news for 3,000 years. But this is family affairs after all. Yang Kai didn't take it too seriously. Now after Zhang Ruoxi mentioned it, Yang Kai suddenly felt that the crazy woman might be Bing Yun's third disciple, and the cultivation base of Emperor Senior's second-level realm was also suitable, because Bing Yun's first disciple in Ruian and second disciple Sun Yunshou it's also this cultivation base, and the third child should not be much different. Realizing this possibility, Yang Kai hurriedly looked in the direction where the crazy woman disappeared, but there was no sign of her. This woman had gone somewhere. It is easy to explain why the third child appeared in this kind of place. She left Bingxin Valley to find the trace of Bingyun. The wild ancient place is famous, so she would not miss it. She must be looking for Bingyun here. As for why there is a problem with sanity, Yang Kai doesn't know, but it is conceivable that this woman must have suffered a lot, otherwise how could a Emperor Senior two-layer powerhouse be so crazy, regardless of image? Of course, this is just Yang Kai's guess. Whether the crazy woman is Bing Yun's third disciple remains to be verified. Maybe the crazy woman killed the third child and robbed her clothes. It's fine if you don't see it, since you saw it. It's about Bingxin Valley and Bingyun. Yang Kai can't ignore it. Sir, Mr. Ban said earlier that there was a strong Emperor Senior realm expert who had been lost for 10 years in the passage of the ancient land, and she was also a woman. Tell me, could it be her? Zhang Ruoxi suddenly asked. Yang Kai didn't expect to go to this place, but after thinking about it carefully, it is not impossible. Perhaps it was because he was lost in the passage of the ancient land for too long that he became crazy. Ban Lao said that the girl is at the first level of Emperor Senior, but Ban Lao is only at the first level of Daoyuan, so it is not clear whether the third child is at the first level or the second level. Maybe it is just speculation. Catch up and have a look. Yang Kai waved his hand, and Emperor Yuan wrapped Zhang Ruoxi in the direction where the crazy woman disappeared. But along the road, there was no trace, and Yang Kai let go of his spiritual sense, but he couldn't detect the woman's aura, but found a lot of monsters. The crazy woman seemed to disappear out of thin air, just as she suddenly appeared. Where is it going? Yang Kai was very annoyed. If he had known that the crazy woman was related to the third child of Bingxin Valley, he would have stopped her. How could she let her run away? Too easy. After chasing for half a day, Yang Kai had no choice but to stop. It is unwise to run around in this wild ancient land, and it might lead to some powerful wild remnants. Can't find it, Yang Kai can only give up temporarily, plan to wait for this matter, go to the Northern Territory, and convey the information of this crazy woman to Bing Yun. Presumably Bing Yun will have arrangements. Taking out the jade slips and inspecting them, Yang Kai found that the half-day pursuit had allowed him to go deep into the ancient land, and if he went further ahead, there was a large gathering place of monsters, and there seemed to be a 12th order monster. Yang Kai has no intention of causing trouble. This trip is mainly to find Xiao Xiao, naturally to avoid some risks as much as possible. He took back the jade slip and was about to make a detour when there was another rattling sound from a big tree not far away. Then, a dark face poked out from the leaves and grinned. Showing a full mouthful of white teeth, he waved at Yang Kai, "Come and catch me. Come and catch me." This crazy woman, Yang Kai's nose is crooked. I couldn't find it all the time. It turned out that she had been hiding nearby all the time, just to tease me. To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn Update group at Biaoming Dong Kong Shui. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2563 Old 3. Phone reading. Faced with this kind of person, Yang Kai really has no temper. If she is sane, she can sit down and chat, and ask her about her background, but she looks crazy, and she has to give her a chance to chat. Yang Kai was so angry that his teeth were itchy, but he didn't dare to startle the snake. This crazy woman comes and goes without a trace, and her concealment technique is very weird. If she is really scared away, it may not be easy to find her. After settling his mind, Yang Kai squeezed out a smile, tried his best to put on a harmless appearance, and waved to the front, saying, "Come here." The crazy woman was not moved at all, she just kept smiling and said, "Come and catch me." She went back and forth. It seemed that she could only say one sentence, and she enjoyed it a lot. Yang Kai tried to call a few times but it didn't work, and he felt helpless. "Sir, lure her with something and see if she will come over," Zhang Ruoxi suddenly suggested. When Yang Kai heard it, he thought it was a good idea, buried his head in the space ring and searched for a while, and soon found a red fruit. He now has a lot of alchemy materials, most of which are obtained by killing people, and some were found in the ancient medicine garden last time. This piece of bisha fruit is an emperor-level alchemy material after all, it looks natural and extraordinary, and it is very old, so it emits a tangy aroma when it is taken out. Yang Kai flipped his hand, spread the bisha fruit on the palm of his hand, rushed forward and said, "I'll give you something to eat, come here, don't be afraid." He looked like a bad uncle who wanted to kidnap and sell a little girl, and he was so tired of himself, but he still had to pretend nothing had happened. The crazy woman hanging upside down on the tree was really interested in the fruit, her bright eyes instantly fixed on the fruit, she didn't hide the eagerness in her eyes, she even smacked her mouth a few times. The look of a pair of index fingers. But I don't know if it's because of her nature, she is still extremely vigilant, despite the eagerness on her face, she didn't rush over to rush as Yang Kai wished. Clatter. The leaves shook for a while, and the crazy woman suddenly disappeared. Yang Kai was stunned in place, and quickly released his spiritual sense to try to track her whereabouts. This time, she will get out of this vast ancient land. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack, I really don't know where to find her. Clatter. There was another sound from the other side, Yang Kai turned his head to look, and suddenly found that the crazy woman had reappeared on the branch of another big tree, holding the trunk with one hand, standing there quietly. Quick, so fast. Yang Kai's eyes narrowed, he finally got a taste of the woman's speed, he didn't even have time to lock the other party's whereabouts, she reappeared like a ghost. But this time it seemed to be much closer than before. Yang Kai secretly let out a sigh of relief, knowing that the fruit in her hand should have aroused her interest. Yang Kai smiled slightly, with a soft tone, and sent the fruit in his hand forward, saying, "Do you want it? If you don't want it, I will eat it." While speaking, he took the fruit back and slowly brought it to his mouth. Seeing this situation, the crazy woman became anxious. He looked as if he wanted to rush over to seize love, but he didn't know what he was worried about. Walking back and forth on the trunk, just can't come down. Yang Kai was so angry that his teeth were itchy, he opened his mouth and bit Bishiguo directly. Sip it down, mouth full of fluid, this is an emperor-level spiritual fruit after all. The aura contained in it is naturally extremely amazing, and the taste is very good, the already attractive fruity aroma becomes more intense. Blah blah. Yang Kai ate it with relish, and made some weird noises while eating, which tickled the crazy woman's heart. She looked at Bishiguo again. A trace of firmness flashed in the beautiful eyes, as if she had made some determination, she turned around and turned into a white light and shot towards Yang Kai, as fast as lightning. Yang Kai was waiting for this moment, how could he miss it? The spirit fruit in his hand hit her head on, and at the same time he stretched out his hand like a dragon, grabbing somewhere in the void. With a flash of a figure, the mad woman suddenly appeared not far from Yang Kai, her pair of shining eyes fixedly stared at Bishiguo who was brought over by Yang Kai, as if there was nothing in this world that could attract her attention. If there is no accident, the spirit fruit will hit her on the forehead. Although Yang Kai's strike didn't mean to kill her, it wasn't a casual attack, but poured some Emperor Yuan into it. His original intention was to interfere with this crazy woman so that it would be convenient for him to move next. Unexpectedly, at the critical moment, this crazy woman leaned back and narrowly avoided the attack of the spirit fruit. Then she opened her mouth and bit the spirit fruit on her mouth, her eyebrows and eyes instantly curved into in the shape of a crescent moon, he looked overjoyed. When it was too late, Yang Kai had already flashed to her side and grabbed her arm. The crazy woman was shocked, she turned her head to look at Yang Kai, an indescribable coldness flashed in her smiling eyes. The body twisted as if it was boneless, and changed its position in an instant, standing face to face with Yang Kai. As soon as she raised her hand, she slapped Yang Kai fiercely with the other palm. Before the attack arrived, an extremely icy mood had spread in all directions, as if it was going to freeze the whole world. Yang Kai took a deep breath, couldn't help shivering, and shouted, "The law of ice." If it was just speculation about the relationship between this crazy woman and the third child who had been missing for many years in Bingxin Valley, then it is almost certain now. All the disciples of Bingxin Valley practice ice-type exercises. Yang Kai's face straightened, not daring to neglect, he also slapped away, and in the palm of his hand, the power of space law was ups and downs. Boom! There was a loud noise, and the bodies of both of them shook violently, like two small boats tossed and drifted in the violent wind and waves. The power of two different laws confronted each other, and they were evenly matched. After all, the cultivation base of the crazy woman is a little higher than Yang Kai's, and she shot with anger, but Yang Kai responded hastily. Being able to draw with her is the limit of what Yang Kai can do. I'm afraid I will suffer a big loss. Not waiting for the strength of the law of the two to separate, the crazy woman suddenly twisted her arm, and the hand held by Yang Kai suddenly became soft and boneless, twisting like a snake, and slipped out of Yang Kai's control. Yang Kai was shocked. It was too late when he stretched out his hand to grab her again. The crazy woman had already retreated quickly after being frightened by Yang Kai once, and opened the distance between Yang Kai and Yang Kai in an instant. Wheeze. It wasn't until this moment that the confrontation between the two of them stopped, and Yang Kai stood there with a wry smile on his face, not daring to act rashly, for fear of scaring the other party. 20 feet away, the mad woman stood in the same place angrily. Her eyes were full of resentment, as if Yang Kai had abandoned her all the time, which made Yang Kai very embarrassed. It's not honorable to lie to a man of insanity, and a woman at that. Stretching out her hand to take down the spirit fruit that she had bitten in her mouth, the crazy woman took a bite, without any scruples about being bitten by Yang Kai, eating comfortably. Her brows were beaming, her nose was neither nose nor eye. Yang Kai sighed slightly. He was also Bing Yun's third disciple, at least he was also a powerhouse at the second level of Emperor Senior, but now he looked like this. A spirit fruit made her seem to have the greatest happiness. If it was called Bingshin Valley, those people don't know how heartbroken they should be when they see it. Quietly winking at Zhang Ruoxi understood, quickly dug out a fruit from her space ring, and said softly, "Do you want more? I have it here too. If you want it, I will give it to you." The crazy woman over there looked up. Her face changed color, and she kept waving her hands. After being teased by Yang Kai, she was bitten by a snake once, and was afraid of the smell of the well rope for 10 years. Not only that, but she turned around and ran away in a panic. Yang Kai suddenly became anxious, annoyed in his heart that he had acted a little hastily just now, and did not understand the other's ability to startle the snake. In fact, he still had a lot of confidence before he made the move. After all, his current strength is here. He thought that it would not take much trouble to win a second-level emperor, but he didn't want the third child's reaction and adaptability to be beyond his control, his imagination. But thinking about it carefully, if she had been wandering outside for so long, and survived in the wild ancient land for so long, if she had no skills, she would have been nothing more than a pile of bones. Her current strength is probably even stronger than her senior and second senior sisters. Although Ruian and Sun Yunshou are also at the second level of Emperor Senior, they have not experienced as many risks as her. Danger and tribulation are always the stepping stones for a person's growth. Seeing the mad woman turn around and want to escape, Yang Kai didn't dare to hesitate anymore, and shouted loudly, "Third brother, Senior Bingyun is waiting for you to go back. Where are you going?" He didn't know the name of Bing Yun's third disciple, and he hadn't inquired about it before, so he could only yell casually like this, and even mentioned Bing Yun's name, and he didn't know if it had any effect. If this crazy woman is really Bing Yun's third disciple, even if she is insane, she will definitely not be indifferent. To Yang Kai's surprise, after hearing his words, the crazy woman suddenly stopped in place, her delicate body trembling slightly, her black face slowly turned around, and the spirit fruit in her mouth was forgotten. Pharynx. Looking at each other, Yang Kai found that her eyes were full of confusion. Obviously Bing Yun's name evoked some memories of her, but her current situation could not make those memories clear. There was a look of struggle and pain on his face. She must be the third child. Yang Kai was determined, and said softly, "Third brother, Senior Bingyun has returned, your senior sister, second senior sister and several junior sisters are waiting for you. Don't run around, I will take you home." While speaking, he stretched out a hand towards that side. The struggling expression on the third child's face became more and more serious, his bright beautiful eyes trembled violently, 2 lines of tears slid down his cheeks, and he murmured, "Master, Master." Yang Kai was overjoyed when he heard the words. The third child obviously remembered something. To be continued. Chapter 2564 Kill the man, catch the woman. Just when Yang Kai was about to hit the iron while the iron was hot and make persistent efforts, he didn't want the third child to suddenly scratch his hair and cry heartbroken, "Master, where are you? This disciple can't find you." Strands of hair sticking together were grabbed by her and fell to the ground. The bleak picture and the sad and self-blaming tone really made those who heard it sad and those who saw it shed tears. Zhang Ruoxi's eyes turned red, and she glanced at Yang Kai. "I was thinking in my heart that if my husband disappeared suddenly one day, I would definitely look for it, even if it was 3,000 years, 30,000 years, the passage of time could not stop my pace." "Master!" The third child suddenly yelled again, his body shot up into the sky like a cannonball, and shot towards the depths of the ancient land with a twist. Chase. Yang Kai was angry and helpless. He was angry that he had told the truth to the third child, but she ignored it, and instead caused her mind to be stimulated and confused. Way to reason with her. The plan for now is to keep chasing after him, and find a chance to knock the third child unconscious, even if it hurts her a little bit. Wrapping Zhang Ruoxi and followed him all the way, Yang Kai used his space power and teleported several times, but still lost the trace of the third child after a stick of incense. It was like this before. If the third child hadn't shown up on his own initiative again, he definitely wouldn't have noticed. But this time the third child was stimulated, and it would be impossible for her to show up on her own initiative. Yang Kai looked around with a look of annoyance. He has thoroughly learned the skills of the third child, and he can come and go freely in this ghost place. I really don't admire it. Rumbling. A burst of noise came from far and near, and it seemed that many people were approaching this side. Obviously, it was Yang Kai and Zhang Ruoxi who had been chasing the third child before, and it attracted some attention. Yang Kai frowned, and looked towards the direction of the source of the voice, puzzled in his heart, wondering why so many people suddenly appeared in this ancient land. Sweeping over there, he found the aura of a strong emperor senior realm, and this aura doesn't seem to be human yet. Yaozu. Yang Kai immediately had a guess in his heart. After a short while, figures suddenly rushed out from the jungle on one side. These figures all looked fierce and menacing, and they looked extremely unfavorable. Moreover, their bodies were filled with monster aura, gathering together in one place. They looked like the demonic aura soared to the sky, unstoppable. Sure enough, it's the monster race. The leader of a monster clan is tall and tall, holding a bone spear in his hand. The whiteness is terrifying, and it is made of the bones of an unknown monster. It is more than 5 feet long and as thick as a human leg. He held it in his hand but turned it around at will, wearing simple animal skin on his body. His strong muscles were exposed, full of the beauty of power. He sat on a steel-backed bristle pig. The fangs in its mouth were 2 feet long, upwards rolling over. Hot air was sprayed from the nostrils. The forehooves were restlessly scratching the ground, and the 2 scarlet beast eyes emitted a frightening light. One monster and one beast, majestic and majestic, like a god descending from the earth. This is obviously a demon general. Beside this monster general, about 30 or 40 monster clans of varying levels of strength spread out to both sides around him, standing there in an orderly manner. Dozens of pairs of eyes locked on Yang Kai and Zhang Ruoxi in an instant, looked up and down. Most of them looked at Zhang Ruoxi. After all, Zhang Ruoxi has a beautiful appearance and a slim figure, which can always attract male eyes, no matter if it is a human or a monster. Those scantily dressed banshees suddenly became unhappy, looking at Zhang Ruoxi with hostility in their eyes. They all gritted their teeth and cursed, and occasionally they heard 1 or 2 sluts and the like. On the contrary, Zhang Ruoxi looked curiously at the group of people who came out suddenly. She had never seen monsters before, but she had seen many monsters, and it was so easy to see monsters in human form. Seeing that these guys are no different from ordinary people on the surface, I can't help but take a few extra glances. To say that she is not afraid. After all, Yang Kai is by her side. She is full of confidence in Yang Kai. Humans, you are so courageous. How dare you trespass on my lord's territory? The burly monster general sat on the steel-backed bristled pig, pointing his bone gun at a distance, but he was full of momentum. The corner of Yang Kai's mouth twitched, not knowing how to answer. He knew that there were many monster clans living in the wild and ancient land. Monster clans and monster beasts were not the same. Most of the monster beasts had not developed their spiritual intelligence and only knew how to instinctively swallow the aura of heaven and earth to cultivate. Although their lifespan was long, their strength was difficult to improve. Cannot take human form. The monster clan is different. Although born out of monsters, they have opened up their spiritual wisdom and know how to practice more effectively. They even have some special cultivation methods for the monster clan. In the entire wild ancient land, the monster race is the most powerful force. Apart from the monster race, there are many wild relics. These wild relics include countless almost extinct races. Although the number is small, it is extremely powerful, because these wild remnants have wild blood and can display some abilities beyond imagination. Yang Kai is not clear about the division of forces in the ancient land. The only information he has is the things recorded in the jade slip that Pai San gave him free of charge. The information in it is not comprehensive, only some situations around the ancient land, that's all. Seeing this group of monster clans appear at this moment, Yang Kai immediately knew that in order to pursue the youngest child of Bingxin Valley, he should have inadvertently broken into the sphere of influence of this monster general. Kill, kill, kill. A group of monsters suddenly yelled loudly. If people who don't know it see it, they may think that this group of monsters are road bandits blocking the road. It's really funny. I'm asking you guys. The demon general reined in his mount and turned around, still pointing at Yang Kai with the bone spear in his hand, and said unceremoniously, "Did you see a crazy woman?" Third child. Yang Kai didn't want to talk to this group of monsters, but now he heard him questioning. Obviously he had seen the third child, so he shouted loudly, "Have you seen her?" The demon general was furious, and snorted coldly, "It's the uncle who is asking you. If you don't want to suffer, you can answer obediently, otherwise you will know how powerful I am." There was no way to chat with him. Yang Kai decided to do it first, grinned, and said, "Then I have to see it." The demon general sneered, "Since you are looking for death, don't blame the master for being merciless." He sat on the mount, waved his hand, and ordered, "Men kill, women catch." With an order, 30 or 40 monster clans screamed and moved like the wind. In an instant, the monster aura billowed and the flying leaves filled the air. With the cover of the flying leaves, a group of monster clans rushed forward desperately. "What are you doing?" Yang Kai's face was stunned. He knew that the monster race's mind was relatively simple, but he didn't expect it to be so simple, and he didn't even think about whether his opponents came out like this, so he wasn't afraid of being wiped out. It is really rare for this group of monsters to survive in the ancient land for so long. But this is also the reason why Yang Kai's strength is now high, and his vision is also high. This group of monsters, at least there is a monster general sitting in the town, and there are quite a few people in their hands. This place has even more savage power to suppress human fighters. Fearless. After so many years, many emperor prestige realm died at their hands. If not for some ability, how could they survive in the ancient land for so long? There is no peace in this kind of place, and those who have no ability will have died long ago. A group of monster races came rushing to kill them, using their own methods. Many monster races showed their real bodies in the middle of the journey, and all kinds of strange monsters wandered around for a while, and one after another monster clan's secret techniques blasted wildly, changed the color of the sky and the earth. The demon general sat in the back, motionless, just watching coldly. A giant python sprayed poisonous mist, covering Yang Kai's side, filling the space there at once, making Yang Kai unable to see the situation ahead. In the poisonous mist, a figure suddenly tore apart and rushed towards him. The fangs at the corners of its mouth gleamed with a cold light. It was a wolf-shaped monster that launched a sneak attack under the cover of the poisonous mist. Jung. With a soft cry, the cold light suddenly disappeared. Yang Kai stood still and didn't seem to move, but he didn't know when he sacrificed 1,000,000 swords. The giant wolf flew past his body, its scarlet eyes flashed wildly, as if it saw something extremely terrifying. Falling to the ground, the body rushed forward uncontrollably, accompanied by a popping sound. A large amount of blood spurted out from the neck, the body and head were separated, and fell to the ground twitching continuously. This monster clan only had Dao origin stage cultivation base. Even if they used the cover of poisonous mist to sneak attack, how could it be Yang Kai's opponent? They were killed in one blow. Shish. 7 or 8 monsters turned into their real bodies, and all rushed out of the poisonous fog, biting from all directions. Yang Kaijian walks around the dragon, and the cold light keeps shining. There were several muffled puffs, and all the monsters that pounced on him flew out, and were split in two in midair. Blood and internal organs spilled all over the ground, and the howls of misery followed one after another. The crowd of monster races were silent for a moment, their forward steps stopped in unison, all of them stared wide-eyed, their faces showing shock, as if they didn't expect Yang Kai to be so powerful. Tick-tock. Only the sound of blood falling from the 1,000,000 sword fell to the ground, but it was like a note of death, which made a group of monsters tremble with fear. At this time, they naturally saw that Yang Kai was a little different from some of the human beings they met before. It seemed not easy to mess with. "Boy, how dare you slaughter my race, and die quickly." The demon general was originally sitting in the rear, his eyes lingered on Zhang Ruoxi's graceful figure, revealing a lustful light, and in a blink of an eye, he was actually dead. There were almost 10 of them, and they were furious immediately. As soon as they urged the mounts under their crotch, they charged towards Yang Kai with guns. The steel-backed bristled pig was an unknown beast, its speed was extremely fast, and it flew all 4 hooves in an instant. The big tree surrounded by several people along the road was also smashed by its roots when it hit it, which shows how amazing its power is. Seeing that he made a move, the other monster races naturally avoided and turned to trouble Zhang Ruoxi. Yang Kai snorted coldly, and pointed at the million sword, his expression solemn, and whispered in his mouth, "Million sword light, swallow wolf every month." Chi 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 chi. With the broadsword dancing, thousands of sword lights radiated around like a fan being scattered. To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn update group at Biaoming Dong Kong Shui. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2565. A group of people turned on their backs, howling incessantly. 20 or 30 monster clans rushed towards them, and before they got close, they were beaten by thousands of sword lights, and they were at a loss. Like a broken sieve, blood trickled out. After one blow, Yang Kai suddenly disappeared in place. Brush. In a flash, the figure flew in front of the monster general who was rushing towards him, and slashed down with his sword. The demon general has never seen such a fierce person. He realized that something was wrong when he saw his subordinates fall like straws. This human being seems different from the ones he encountered before, and this is too fierce. Bar. Suddenly being attacked at this moment, it was shock and anger. However, his reaction was also quick. With a flick of the bone spear in his hand, blossoming spear flowers bloomed and stabbed towards Yang Kai. The shadow of the spear turned into one piece, the monster aura surged, and the sound of scoffing could be heard endlessly. Yang Kai swung his sword and slashed. Under the blessing of Emperor Yuan, the sharpness of the million swords was unparalleled, and he cut off the bone spear, and in the blink of an eye, only half of the spear was left in the demon general's hand. Ah! The demon general turned pale with fright. At this time, he didn't know how many ghosts he encountered while walking at night. He has encountered many human warriors before, but he has never been able to kill like Yang Kai. He has no power to fight back. Even if the warriors with higher cultivation bases compete with him in this wild ancient land, the strength will be suppressed a lot, and the dozens of subordinates who cooperate with him have always been invincible, killed many people, robbed the property of many human warriors, and made some windfalls. This time, he kicked on the iron plate. Not only did the kick hurt, but if he didn't handle it well, he might even die. Seeing that Yang Kai was slashing his head with a sword again, the demon general let out a loud shout when he was horrified, raised his arms to the sky, raised the remaining half of the bone spear, and poured it into the demon essence to block it. Boom! Huge strength came from above, and the bone spear that had been with him for countless years was cut in two, and the sharp sword light almost slid against his face, sliding all the way down, cutting across the chest and abdomen. The steel-backed bristle pig under its crotch also bent its limbs and half-kneeled on the ground, which showed how powerful the blow was. However, under the pain, the steel-backed bristle pig's eyes suddenly turned red, and the barbs on its body danced like steel needles, and then swished out. Yang Kai raised his brows, but he was a little surprised. He didn't seem to expect that this mount was not just a majestic ride, but also had some fighting power. Without a strong resistance, Yang Kai floated back, and when the wide sword danced, some steel needles that were attacking him were sent flying. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the steel-backed bristled pig suddenly jumped back, leading the monster general to open the distance between him and Yang Kai. Still in shock, the demon general stretched out his hand to wipe away his body, and then he laughed loudly after a while. "I'm not dead. Haha, I'm not dead." At that moment just now, he thought he was going to die, but he never thought that he was still intact, but it made him feel lucky to have recovered his life. But after this battle, how dare he continue to confront Yang Kai? Knowing that he was no match for others, he pushed the mount under his legs, turned around and ran away. Now his life is the most important thing. He dare not continue to entangle with Yang Kai. Even the lives of his own subordinates can't be controlled. But after running a few steps, a figure flashed in front of him, and Yang Kai had already blocked him first. Black hair flying, eyes cold, Yang Kai said expressionlessly, "You didn't die because I kept you useful, why do you think you can escape?" After the words fell, he slashed forward with a sword. The steel-backed bristled pig rushing forward couldn't dodge it, and slammed into the sword light abruptly. Accompanied by a shrill beast roar, the huge body split into two neatly. Bloody intestines flowed all over the ground, and the two halves the body is still rushing forward under the inertia. The demon general sitting on its back also flew out, knocked down more than a dozen big trees one after another, and then rolled down under a tree root in embarrassment, unable to get up for a long time. Zheng. The cold light flashed, and a broadsword was pressed against his brow. The demon general was startled, his eyes became cross-eyed, his focused eyes diverged again, and he gradually saw Yang Kai who was standing in front of him, condescendingly looking down at him. There was a cold sweat on his forehead in an instant. The demon general knew that what Yang Kai said just now was true. He didn't die, it was really others who let him go, not his own strength. If the human in front of him really wanted to take his life, it would be as easy as pie. Gudong. The sound of swallowing saliva sounded, the demon general turned pale, and squeezed out a far-fetched smile. He had no demon integrity, and opened his mouth to beg for mercy. My lord, please spare me, my lord, please forgive me. It was not the first time for Yang Kai to deal with monster races. When he was in Tongshuan continent 9 Heavens Holy Land, he had lived with many monster races. He knew that these guys were no different from human beings, and there were not a few people who were greedy for life and afraid of death. The one in front of him, although he has a cultivation level comparable to that of the emperor, is undoubtedly a cowardly fellow. Want to die? Yang Kai asked in a cold voice, and sent the million sword in his hand forward. A trace of blood immediately oozed from the demon general's forehead, which made the demon general tremble in fright, and hurriedly said, Live, want to live. Answer my questions obediently if you want to live. If you dare to speak half a lie, I will kill you immediately. My lord, just ask. The demon general didn't dare to move, otherwise he would definitely turn his head into a chicken pecking rice. Yang Kai said with a sullen face, I heard you ask about a crazy woman earlier, could it be that you have seen her? When the demon general heard this, he immediately understood that some misfortune came from his mouth. This strong man of the human race undoubtedly had something to do with that crazy woman. That woman is you. Huh, Yang Kai stared, a note spewed out of his nostrils, and snorted coldly, now I'm asking you a question, you just need to answer honestly. Yes, yes, yes. The demon general felt a chill in his heart, and hurriedly said, I've seen it, I've met more than once. What's going on? Let's listen carefully. The demon general suddenly had a bitter expression on his face, and said sadly, My lord, that crazy woman. Cough cough. Not understanding the relationship between Yang Kai and that crazy woman, the demon general was afraid that he would stab himself with a sword in anger. Cut it off, and found out that Yang Kai didn't mean to be annoyed, so he continued, That woman has caused us a lot of trouble, she stole the Tiangong spiritual fruit that the villain raised on the mountain, it's been a month. Steal once, a total of 5 fruits, and she stole them all in less than half a year, even the fruit trees were uprooted by her. But those are the spiritual fruits that the villain keeps for when he is preparing to break through, and has been cultivated for 1,000 years seeing that they are blooming and fruiting, but they are of great use, but they haven't even tasted a fresh one. The old cow next door has more than a dozen tortoise and snake plants. She also pulled out all of them. Who is Lao Niu? Yang Kai frowned. The demon general hurriedly said, Niu Quan, just like the villain, is a demon general under Yingfei Demon King, and lives next door to me. Keep talking. Yang Kai stabbed him with his sword, and didn't bother with the matter anymore. The demon general in front of him kept shrinking back, not daring to act rashly even if he wanted to escape. Black Crow's Tenfang fruit, Turui's golden rainbow spring, Chasing Wind's emperor grade pomegranate. All of them were caused by her. There are more than a dozen of them that the villain can name, and I don't know if there are others that can't. How many houses, she ran around here, and almost all the brothers' treasures were visited by her. The Yingfei Demon King was furious, saying that I was incompetent, and I couldn't even take down a crazy woman, and ordered me to wait half a year. Arrest her, lest he lose face in front of other demon kings. Yang Kai was stunned. Yang Kai naturally didn't know those black crows, Turui, Chasing Wind, etc., but he probably had the same status as the demon general in front of him, but he was no stranger to Shifang Guo and Emperor Rank Durian. These are all top elixir. Listening to what the monster general said, it seems that the third child has caused a lot of harm to the geniuses and treasures guarded by these monster generals. It's no wonder that although she is insane, she has a powerful cultivation at the second level of Emperor Senior. There are countless dangers in the ancient land, but there are also some opportunities. The third child has harmed so many treasures, and her cultivation will definitely improve. After hearing this, Yang Kai couldn't help being angry and funny. Why does it feel like the ancient land has become the back garden of the third child? He can go wherever he wants, and he can take whatever he wants. The monsters he made have no temper at all. When did this happen? Yang Kai asked again. It has been like this for 50 years. The demon general replied with a face of shame. A crazy woman has been hopping in the ancient land for 50 years, but many demon clans have nothing to do with her. It is really embarrassing to say. The corner of Yang Kai's mouth twitched, and said, "You brought these men just to find that crazy woman?" The demon general said, Yes, I heard from my subordinates before that she was found in this area, and the villain rushed over without stopping. This is not, that I hit your hand." Squeezing out a smile, the demon general asked cautiously, "My lord, what does that woman have to do with you?" "It's none of your business." Yang Kai snorted coldly. The demon general shrank his neck, but he also saw that there must be some relationship between Yang Kai and the crazy woman. They must not be enemies, otherwise how could he show a caring look? Rolling his eyes, the demon general said, "That woman's figure is strange and unpredictable. Although we have been looking for her, no one has ever succeeded, and she has run away every time." What are you doing, my lord?" As he was talking, he suddenly caught sight of Yang Kai's eyes turning cold. The sharp sword in his hand seemed to be piercing into his body, and his soul was almost frightened. Knowing that his life was hanging by a thread, he quickly begged, "My lord, please forgive me, leave it to the useful body, the small one will definitely serve the adults." "What's the use of you group of monsters?" Yang Kai snorted coldly. His hands kept moving. He just inquired about the third child's information. Now that he has found out, there is no need to save the life of this monster general. Sensing his murderous intent, the demon general sweated profusely from his forehead, and with a flash of inspiration, he said hastily, "The villain can help the adult find the trace of that woman. The little one has tracked her for 50 years, and he treats her somewhat differently." "Understood, please give me a chance." To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn Update group at Cha Shang Meng Sao. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is the author's greatest motivation. Chapter 2566 Yang Yue. He really had no other choice, and he didn't know if it would be useful to say this, but it was a life-saving straw, so he had to grab it first. Never thought that Yang Kai's hand movement really stopped. The demon general Yu Sheng immediately knew that he was right in betting, and said, "Don't worry, my lord, as long as my lord can get around me and survive, the little one will definitely not disappoint you. Besides, the little guy still has some men under his command. Let's go. It can always help if you go out and look for it." There is some truth to this. Yang Kai didn't expect to meet the third child of Bingxin Valley in this wild and ancient land, and it was hard to let go of him, but the third child was strange and had a very powerful concealment technique. If Zhang Ruoxi went to look for it, she might really be powerless. If you can get the help of this demon general, you can save some time. After all, the number of opponents is there. In order to comfort Yang Kai's heart, or to save his own life, the demon general even gritted his teeth and offered to propose. If the adult thinks it's okay, the villain is willing to offer the soul seal, and I will do my best for the adult. If you offer the soul seal, you will be a soul slave. Life and death are only between Yang Kai's thoughts. In order to control Watching Si, Yang Kai did this. However, Watching Si was forced to be helpless, but the demon general in front of her took the initiative to propose. But this demon general doesn't have much integrity, so he doesn't care about these things now. In order to save his life, he just doesn't know if he will regret it in the future. "Bring it." Yang Kai stretched out a hand towards him. "I really want it." The corner of the demon general's mouth twitched, but he didn't dare to resist Yang Kai's cold gaze. He obediently closed his eyes and focused on the secret technique. After a short while, a ray of golden light shot from his forehead. Everywhere flew out and was grabbed by Yang Kai. The demon general snorted, his face turned pale. After Yang Kai used means to seal the soul in his sea of consciousness, he received the million swords. He said lightly, "Get up." Although the demon general felt bitter in his heart, he also knew that his life was saved anyway, so he quickly got up and patted the dust off his body. Glancing at the dead mount that had been cut in half not far away, he sighed faintly. "My lord, let that girl stop, I'm afraid that she might make a mistake." The demon general pointed at Zhang Ruoxi, who was still fighting with many demon clans. Yang Kai nodded, and the sound transmission whispered in Zhang Ruoxi's ear. The demon general also shouted at the same time, "Stop all of them. I can see it, he still has great prestige in front of these monster clans." With an order, many monster clans retreated one after another, widening the distance between them and Zhang Ruoxi, leaving 2 corpses on the ground. Although they fought fiercely all the time, they didn't actually die too many people. The main reason was that Zhang Ruoxi couldn't let go because she was only at the 3rd level of Daoyuan. However, after such a short effort, he had already killed 2 monster races, but his body was unscathed, and those monster races he beat were also terrified. Fortunately, the demon general ordered them to stop. Otherwise, if a few more people die, they still don't know if they have the courage to fight on. The people from both sides looked towards the demon general and Yang Kai. Seeing that they were peaceful, they all showed curious expressions, not knowing what was going on. The demon general coughed lightly, and said, "It was a misunderstanding, this lord is one of our own, so there is no need to fight anymore." He didn't have the nerve to tell his subordinates that he had become Yang Kai's sole slave. After all, he still wanted to save face, so he sneaked a look at Yang Kai's expression changes while speaking. Finding that he didn't mind, a hanging heart was relieved. A group of monsters looked at each other in blank dismay, not knowing what their lord was doing. The man and the woman were human no matter how they looked at it. How can you become your own person in the blink of an eye? But after learning how powerful Yang Kai and Zhang Ruoxi were, they didn't dare to say anything for fear of causing another disaster. In the future, when you see this lord, it will be like seeing me in person, do you understand? The demon general pointed at Yang Kai and shouted again. Although a group of monsters were confused, they nodded, mainly because they were afraid. He didn't think about avenging his dead companions or anything. The demon general just turned around and said with a flattering smile, "My lord has been exhausted all the way, why don't you follow me to the mountain to have a rest?" "What's the rest?" Yang Kai didn't show a good face, and waved, "Hurry up and let them find someone, if you can't find someone, you will die." The demon general suddenly looked bitter, and said, "My lord doesn't know something. I'm afraid that the woman won't show up for a while, so it's useless to look for it." Yang Kai said with a sullen face, "What do you mean?" The demon general clasped his fists and said, "She is very timid. Every time she is frightened, she will hide for a month or 2. During this time, no one can find her, so if you want to find her, you have to wait first. When the limelight passes, she will naturally show up again." Seeing Yang Kai's suspicious look, and the demon general swearing, everything the villain said is true, adults can ask them. The 3rd child is timid, Yang Kai has already experienced it, it should be related to the problem of sanity, so he doesn't think this monster is lying to him, not to mention, his life is in his own hands now, so he doesn't have the courage. If you can't find it, you have to look for it. If there is any news, let me know immediately. Yang Kai snorted coldly. Although he knew that this monster would not lie, Yang Kai still had hope in case. Yes. The demon general couldn't resist Yang Kai, so he could only order those monster clans to scatter and search, and report back immediately if there is any news. 20 or 30 monster clans with different levels of cultivation were ordered to disperse in all directions, leaving only 5 monster clans standing by. "Where are you going to rest?" Yang Kai glanced at the demon general expressionlessly. Now that someone is helping him find the trace of the 3rd child, he doesn't need to work hard on his own, and the demon general also said that the 3rd child may not show up in a month or 2, and he has no intention of looking for it again. He will only wait a month or 2 later. Goodbye. Hearing the words, the demon general immediately stretched out his hand and made a gesture of invitation, nodded and bowed his waist and said, "This way, it's not far away, and it will take half a day." Yang Kai nods his head, his body moves upwards, and flies towards that side. Zhang Ruoxi didn't know what Yang Kai was doing, but she didn't ask any more questions, and followed Yang Kai into the air, and when she passed by the monster general, she gave him a contemptuous look. After all, he can be regarded as a monster clan in the Emperor's senior realm, why is he so spineless? They are not even as good as human beings. Didn't they hear that the monsters in the ancient land are brave and good at fighting, so they are not easy to mess with? Zhang Ruoxi stared at the demon general so badly, he touched his nose embarrassingly, and followed. Following his guidance, a group of people flew towards the place where the demon general stayed. "How do you call it?" Halfway through, Yang Kai suddenly asked. The demon general cupped his hands and said, "The little sheep is promising. I heard you mention the eagle-flying demon king earlier, what's the origin?" Yang Kai looked at him curiously. Yang Yue straightened his expression immediately, and said solemnly, "Master Yingfei is one of the 8 great demon kings under the seat of the Holy Venerable. His strength is unfathomable, he has already reached the peak of the 12th step, comparable to the 3rd level of the Emperor." 8 demon kings. Yang Kai frowned, "So, there are 7 more demon kings like this?" Yang Yue chuckled and said proudly, there are more than 7. There are 32 demon kings in the entire ancient land. Yang Kai was startled. So many. All of them have the cultivation base of Emperor Senior Third Order. Yang Yue nodded and said, naturally, without this strength, how can we secure the position of Demon King? In fact, there are more than 32 people with such strength, but only 32 Demon Kings. Those who failed to occupy the position of Demon King, all the powerful existences of the King's throne serve beside the Holy One, and there are always more than a dozen of them, and each of them is not inferior to the most powerful Demon King, or even worse. Yang Kai sucked in a breath of cold air. Before he came here, he really didn't know that there were so many powerful monster races in the wild ancient land. Hearing what Yang Yue said, he realized that he had underestimated this ancient land. May I ask, in the entire star world, which sect can have so many Emperor Senior Third Layer powerhouses? Even the sects of those great emperors don't have it. It's terrible to hold 7 or 8 to death. In other words, the power of the entire ancient land is comparable to the sum of 4 or 5 overlord sects like the Star God Palace. No wonder people say that the ancient land is dangerous. It's more than dangerous, it's like hell. If you are not careful, you don't even know how to die. He was slightly glad that he didn't kill this Yang Yue on the spot, otherwise he wouldn't be able to find out the information, which made him a little worried about the next journey. The Holy One, what is it? Yang Kai asked hesitantly as a thought suddenly appeared in his mind. The Holy One is the Holy One. Yang Yue chuckled, he governs the entire wild ancient land. Oh yes, according to human beings, the Holy One is the Holy Spirit. Really? Yang Kai was shocked. Although there were rumors that there were holy spirits living in the ancient land, no one had confirmed it after all, but what Yang Yue meant, it seemed that all the monsters living here knew it. There really is a holy spirit in this ancient land. Zhang Ruoxi also looked at Yang Yue in shock, unable to immediately digest the explosive news. She opened her mouth slightly and exhaled like blue. This is not over yet. Yang Yue threw another blockbuster. With unknown reason, there are 4 great sages in the ancient land, and each sage has 8 demon kings, left and right holy envoys. The strength of our ancient land is extraordinary. The 4 great saints, doesn't it mean that there are 4 holy spirits here? Yang Kai's face turned pale. Although his current strength is not bad, he has no power to fight back against an existence like the Holy Spirit. Yang Yue observed Yang Kai's expression and saw that Yang Kai's expression was not right. He secretly laughed in his heart, telling you not to give me face, are you frightened now? Unexpectedly, Yang Kai turned his head and looked at him coldly, and said, no matter how powerful the Holy Venerable and the Demon King are, I want to take your life in just one thought. This time it was Yang Yue's turn to turn pale, and he cried out sadly, my lord, I am loyal to you, my heart can be learned from the sun and the moon, and the world can show it, my lord can learn from it. Shit, loyalty. How long have we known each other? To actually talk about loyalty, it's like talking nonsense. Don't worry, if I find that woman, I will give you back your freedom. Yang Kai snorted, and naturally gave a candied date to him after hitting him with a hammer. Yang Yue was overjoyed in his heart, but he said, the little one is willing to be the saddle for the grown-up, and he has no other intentions. I don't know where this guy learned his rhetoric. He flattered and flattered people all the time to make people happy, but what he said was serious, which made Zhang Ruoxi's eyes look even more contemptuous. To be continued. Opening parenthesis, closing parenthesis. Chapter 2567. Ruoxi has grown up. Half a day later, a group of people landed on a mountain. The entire wild ancient land is densely packed with countless peaks, rolling and winding, which is the best hiding place for these monster races. This is where Yang Yue's cave is located. According to what he said, with this place as the center, the area covered by the 10 nearby peaks is his territory. Yang Kai took out the jade slip that Pai San handed to him before and compared it, and found that this location has not exceeded the scope of the jade slip for the time being, but it is marked with a bright red mark, which symbolizes a dangerous place. It seems that the information in this jade slip is not useless. If ordinary warriors see the markings in the jade slip, they will definitely not dare to come here without authorization. Halfway up the mountain there is a cave that allows people to enter and exit. After entering the cave and reaching the mountainside, there are other caves inside. Many grottos and other places have been dug. It doesn't matter whether it is beautiful or not. Yang Yue led Yang Kai and Zhang Ruoxi into the grotto, gave the best room to Yang Kai, and assigned the adjacent room to Zhang Ruoxi, then bowed his head and retreated. Life is in someone's hands, so it's not okay to be disrespectful. Inside the grotto, Yang Kai looked around and found that although the place is small, it has all internal organs. It should be a place for Yang Yu to live for himself. There are stone beds and exquisite bedding on the bed, and he doesn't know where he got it from. There is also a bath in the grotto, which seems to have attracted spring water from the mountains to gather here. The water is crystal clear. Yang Kai stretched out his hand to try it, and found that the temperature is actually moderate. This evildoer actually knows how to enjoy life. Yang Kai smiled slightly, walked to the side of the stone bench and sat down. Sir, what should we do now? Zhang Ruoxi asked beside him. If you come, let's be safe. Yang Kai sighed slightly. He didn't expect such a change in this trip to the ancient land, but the third child can't ignore it, but Xiao Xiao has to look for it. There is a spiritual connection between him and Xiao Xiao, just like when he could sense the existence of Lu Yan back then. As long as they are within a certain range, they should be able to detect each other's existence. Zhang Ruoxi naturally obeyed his orders and had no opinion. There was a knock on the door suddenly. The two looked at each other. Yang Kai winked at Zhang Ruoxi, and the latter moved his lotus steps lightly towards the layman. Outside the door, Yang Yue stood there anxiously. Behind him were two beautiful servant girls, each carrying something. One was holding a pot of spiritual wine, the other was holding a plate of spiritual fruit. With beautiful eyes full of charms and a slender figure, slender waist and full buttocks, with a light gauze covering her body, the beauty inside is faintly visible, especially those two pairs of white and slender thighs, which are exposed outside, making people look bloody. These two beautiful maidservants are obviously not human beings, and they have a very obvious monster aura, and they don't know what kind of monsters they transformed into, but since they have already transformed into human form, they undoubtedly understand spiritual wisdom and cultivation. The two women were also very curious. They were originally Yang Yue's confinement, but this time they were ordered by Yang Yue to serve a distinguished guest. Yang Yue made it clear that no matter what the distinguished guest wanted to do to them, they had to smile, greeting each other, flattery, without any disobedience. The two girls are not innocent virgins, so they don't know what Yang Yue is planning. They don't mind at all. Accompanying Yang Yue is to accompany, and accompanying distinguished guests is also to accompany. Just guessing, if there is some powerful demon handsome, maybe the demon king came here, otherwise Yang Yue would let the two of them go out to please others. The door opened. Yang Yue raised his head, swallowed the word, master, before he could say it, looked at Zhang Ruoxi in astonishment, and said, "It's you, my lord." Zhang Ruoxi glanced at him vigilantly, and then looked at the two seductively dressed and immoral women behind him. Her pretty face suddenly turned cold, especially the two witches kept looking in through the crack of the door. It seems that she can see some tricks, which makes her feel more and more uncomfortable. Looking back, he found that Yang Kai was also looking this way curiously, his eyes constantly sweeping over the two witches. With a hook of the hand, the door of the room was closed all of a sudden, blocking the wanton eyes of the two shameless witches, and the eyes of the two women who made trouble suddenly became resentful. Your Excellency is tired, resting, what's the matter? Zhang Ruoxi didn't give Yang Yu any good looks. Yang Yue chuckled, bowed and said, "It's like this, my lord is here for the first time, and there is nothing to entertain you in this barren mountain and wild ridge. I will offer you a pot of spiritual wine and a plate of spiritual fruit. Be careful, please welcome me. Don't blame me, my lord." Zhang Ruoxi shifted her gaze to the spirit wine and spirit fruit, and hummed softly in her nostrils. Yang Yue didn't know what she meant, and stood there waiting for her to make way, but found that Zhang Ruoxi was blocking the way like a door god, and had no intention of letting go at all. The witch gave Zhang Ruoxi what she was holding. "Is there anything else?" Zhang Ruoxi took the things and asked impatiently, seeing that they hadn't shown signs of leaving. Yang Yue said with a flattering smile, "My lord has been exhausted all the way. I think he is tired, and the little one has prepared two servants to take care of your lord to take a bath and rest. I wonder if the girl can do it for you." Before he finished speaking, Zhang Ruoxi stretched out his hand and pointed to the way he came. Yang Yue turned around, but found nothing, and scratched his head suspiciously. "My lord is there to serve me. I don't need you. Where did you come from? Where are you going back? Except for the news of that crazy woman, if you dare to disturb your lord's Qingshou, I will kill you." The face is murderous. Yang Yue was taken aback. He didn't know where he had offended this aunt with his poor hospitality, but he didn't dare to act presumptuously in front of her. After all, Zhang Ruoxi was brought by Yang Kai, there must be no good end for offending her. He bowed incessantly to plead guilty, and retreated in despair with the two witches. The two witches who made him come here in good spirits, and returned disappointed, not to mention any grudges. Shameless vixen. Zhang Ruoxi held the wine pot in one hand and the fruit plate in the other, cursing through gritted teeth. The two vixen who look like broken flowers and ruined willows actually set their minds on the husband. It's really annoying. What's even more annoying is that the husband was looking at them with his eyes shining just now, a very novel look. Turning around, Zhang Ruoxi, who was full of anger, was about to push the door in, when her raised foot suddenly froze in midair. She suddenly remembered that after following her husband for so many years, it seemed that she had never seen him have intimate contact with any woman. She is not a child anymore, so she didn't know about the love between men and women. She used to live with Sister Hua when she was in Shaoxuanji. Sister Hua often teased her about this matter, which made her blush and shy. She is very clear that with the strength of her husband's current cultivation base, if she wants a woman, thousands of beauties will just let him choose, but he seems to have never thought about this, and he has overcome obstacles all the way, cultivated hard, and never relaxes at all. When? How can a man not like a woman? Why are you so self-disciplined, sir? She suddenly blamed herself and felt that she shouldn't have blocked those two witches. After all, she seemed to be very interested in those two witches just now when she saw Mr. Feeling uneasy and pushing the door open, Zhang Ruoxi put the spirit wine and spirit fruit on the table, told what happened just now, and looked carefully at Yang Kai's expression. Yang Kai just hummed, then there was no movement. Isn't the husband angry because he ruined his good deed? Otherwise, why did Zhang Ruoxi react so flatly? Suddenly, Zhang Ruoxi became worried. After a long silence, Zhang Ruoxi bit her red lips lightly, and said, "Sir, you have been tired for so long, do you want me to call those two witches back and let them serve you to rest?" After saying this, Zhang Ruoxi's cheeks flushed slightly, and she was a little embarrassed, for fear that Yang Kai would agree to it. Yang Kai sniffed the aroma of the spirit wine. Without raising his head, he said, "No need." He looked around just now, and he was just curious about what kind of monsters those two witches were transformed into, and they were so enchanting and charming. It would definitely be a disaster for the country and the people if they were placed outside, and there was no other meaning. As he spoke, he poured himself a glass of spiritual wine to taste. Then, Ruoxi serves you personally. PFF'd. Yang Kai sprayed out every single drop of the spirit wine, and wiped it in a hurry. After doing this, Zhang Ruoxi burst out laughing, stepped forward, rolled up her sleeves and wiped Yang Kai's wet clothes gently. The fragrance of the Virgin was blowing on his face. Yang Kai stared blankly at the flowery and jade-like face that was close at hand, smiled slightly, and said, "Ruoxi has grown up." He still remembered that when he brought Zhang Ruoxi out of the Zhang family, the little girl hadn't grown up yet, but after following him for so long, she had already become a great beauty. Perhaps it was because of the darkness under the lamp, Yang Kai never noticed it until now. Zhang Ruoxi paused slightly when she heard this, her cheeks flushed. Yang Kai patted her on the shoulder, motioned her to get up, then stood up and shook the wine on his clothes, and said, "If you fall in love with any man in the future, tell me, I'll make the decision for you." Guangming married you. Zhang Ruoxi pursed her red lips lightly, without saying a word, her eyes were a bit bitter. "Okay, there should be nothing wrong recently, you can go to practice yourself, if something happens, I will call you." Yang Kai waved his hand. Zhang Ruoxi opened her mouth, as if she wanted to say something more, but finally answered, "Yes." After walking out, closing the door, and entering into a nearby grotto, Zhang Ruoxi covered her cheeks with her hands, feeling the scorching heat on her cheeks, and the beating sound like a drum in her chest. She didn't know what was going on with her today, and suddenly she had a sudden whim, and she said what she didn't dare to say on weekdays. Now that she thought about it, she really didn't know where she got the courage from. There is a feeling in the dark that if these words are not spoken out recently, I am afraid that there will be no chance in the future. Could it be that I have reached the stage where Sister Hua mentioned the so-called young girl Wai Chun? To be continued. This text is provided by the Dawn Update group at Wei Zhao Sheng Sheng. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is the author's greatest motivation. Chapter 2568 Tomb of All Souls. Practicing in the mountains, I don't know the passage of time. Yang Yue is very knowledgeable. Since he was dismissed by Zhang Ruoxi that day, he really hasn't shown his face again, but Yang Kai is not afraid of him playing tricks. Now even the soul seal is in his hands. Yang Yue can't get rid of it at all with his control. If he dares to move any crooked thoughts, he will kill himself. Zhang Ruoxi never came again. She just concentrated on cultivating next door. She now has the cultivation base of the 3rd level of Daoyuan, and has gained a lot of benefits in the Sea of Broken Stars, even the complete source of stars. It is the fusion of the source, the feeling of the Emperor. Meaning, the time to hit the Emperor Senior Realm. A month later, the knock on the door came again. Yang Kai opened his eyes, waved his hand, and the door opened. Yang Yue walked in respectfully, cupped his fists and said, "My lord, there is news." Yang Kai's spirit was shocked. He stood up and shouted, "Lead the way. The 3rd child's matter should not be delayed. As soon as possible, he can go to find Xiao with peace of mind." So when he heard Yang Yue's report, he didn't want to delay for a moment and set off immediately. After going out the door, Zhang Ruoxi, who received Yang Kai's voice transmission, also hurried out. Looking at each other, Yang Kai nodded slightly, and Zhang Ruoxi followed behind Yang Kai without saying a word. A ray of light shot up into the sky, left the mountain, turned around in midair, and headed in a certain direction. On the way, Yang Yue carefully stated the findings here. Over the past month, more than 20 monsters under him who are still alive have been looking for the trace of the 3rd child. It was half a day ago that a little monster suddenly discovered something and immediately reported it to Yang Yue, but they did not dare to startle the snake. Well, the 3rd child is really too vigilant. In the past few decades, they have found that the 3rd child has been found many times, but they have not been able to capture her successfully, so they have been paying attention to the movement of the 3rd child from a distance, and followed her quietly. But then again, with Yang Yue's strength as this group of monsters, even if she confronted the 3rd child head-on, she would not be her opponent. Yang Kai guessed that Yang Yue didn't even know that the 3rd child was already at the 2nd level of Emperor Senior, otherwise he wouldn't have dared to fight out a month ago. According to the report of his subordinate Xiao Yao, the 3rd child seems to have been hiding under a river, and it was a coincidence that he was able to find something this time. Perhaps the 3rd child hid for too long and wanted to come out to get some air, but his whereabouts were exposed as soon as he left the river. Yang Kai couldn't help but sigh with emotion. It's really easy to do things with a lot of people. If he was asked to look for the 3rd child, he might find the year of the monkey and the year of the monkey. It would be a wise decision to subdue him instead of killing Yang Yue last time. The journey was not far, but before Yang Kai and others arrived, there was a monster race galloping ahead. Yang Yue took a look, and hurriedly said, "It's my own." He walked out first, and greeted the monster clan. When the 2 monsters met, they whispered a few words. Yang Yue's face changed, and he turned around, looking at Yang Kai with some anxiety. Seeing that there was a change in his expression, Yang Kai's heart jumped, and he said in a deep voice, "What's the matter?" Yang Yue said with a bitter face, "We've been discovered. The 3rd one ran away again." Yang Kai's face was as deep as water. Last time the 3rd one ran away and hid for a month. If he ran again this time, he might have to hide for another month. How could he spend so much time here? It can be said that he ran away, or he didn't run away. Yang Yue looked embarrassed, as if he didn't know how to explain this to Yang Kai. "What do you mean?" Yang Kai looked at him coldly. Yang Yue opened his mouth and sighed. "That woman entered the cemetery." "What cemetery?" Yang Kai frowned. "The Tomb of All Souls." Yang Yue had a bitter expression on his face, and when he mentioned those 4 words, his face turned pale and his body trembled, as if he was extremely afraid. Yang Kai didn't know the inside story, so he said impatiently, "Since we know she has entered there, why don't we continue to follow?" Yang Yue's face changed drastically, and he said in panic, "Your Excellency, you don't know something. You can't enter the Tomb of All Souls. It's the burial place for all the souls in the ancient land. There has always been no entry but no exit." Yang Kai snorted and sneered, said, "I don't care, tell your people to continue to follow, otherwise I will make you look good." Yang Yue said in surprise, "My lord, first let me tell you what is going on with the Tomb of All Souls. After you understand it, you will know that the villain also has powerless intentions." Yang Kai looked at him coldly, and found that he was not alarmist, and immediately said, "Okay, let's see what tricks you can come up with." Yang Yue smiled wryly and said, "I don't dare. I want my lord to know that this Tomb of All Spirits is an invisible place, and it is also the tomb of all living beings in the ancient land." "What is the invisible place?" Yang Yue said bitterly. No one knows where it is, and it is impossible to find it. Yang Kai said angrily. Just now you clearly said that the third child entered the tomb of all souls, but now you say that you don't know where it is, as if I were a 3-year-old child, so you can fool me. Zhang Ruoxi also looked at him with a cold face, with an unkind expression. The main reason is that what Yang Yue said back and forth was too contradictory, and it was difficult for people not to be suspicious. Yang Yue was terrified, felt the oppression on his soul, knew that if he didn't explain clearly, he would die today, and said anxiously, "My lord, calm down, what the villain said is true, and the tomb of all spirits is the place where the entire ancient world belongs. The existence of the existence known to all the creatures on earth, you can find out about it by just asking anyone, how dare a villain deceive you?" Yang Kai frowned, feeling that he wouldn't be joking about it, he raised his hand and said, "Keep talking." Yang Yue took a breath, knowing that he would not be able to die for a while, and carefully said, "The tomb of all spirits, without a trace, will randomly appear in any place in the entire ancient land, without any rules at all. It can be a day or two, or a few months, and every time it appears, there will only be one tomb door. If you want to enter, you can enter through that tomb door. But after so many years, no one has ever entered and come out. And, as soon as the tomb of all souls appears, those monsters or creatures from the ancient land that are about to die of old age will enter the cemetery and wait to die. That's why it is called the Tomb of All Souls, and it coexists with the Blood Gate as two forbidden places in the ancient land. How could another bloody door be involved? Yang Kai didn't know what this Blood Gate was, but since it was a forbidden area, it was naturally extremely dangerous. He didn't even bother to ask about the blood sect, so he just said, "According to what you said, the Tomb of All Souls is the place where the ancient people died of old age." "My lord is a lesson," Yang Yue said with a bow. "What is the third one doing there?" Yang Kai asked with a frown. Yang Yue wanted you to ask me who I should ask, but he didn't dare to complain, so he could only reply bitterly, "This villain doesn't know too well, but since he entered it, I'm afraid it's more or less ominous, because just even if the most powerful demon king enters, there is only one way to die." Having said all this, he only hoped that the lord in front of him would not be reckless. Unexpectedly, Yang Kai just pondered for a moment, then waved his hand and said, "Lead the way ahead, go to the Tomb of All Spirits." Feelings have been talked about for a long time, Yang Yue wailed in his heart and tried to dissuade him, but he looked at Yang Kai, and he still led the way honestly. After a short time, several people landed at the bottom of an open valley, and in the surrounding jungle, several monster races sprang out at once. Yang Kai looked familiar, and they should have seen each other last time, it was Yang Yue of those men. "My lord." Several monster clans stepped forward to salute. Yang Yue waved his hand, making them stand aside, staring at Yang Kai anxiously. Yang Kai was also looking at the valley, trying to find out where the Tomb of All Souls was, but he couldn't find anything, and asked with a frown, "Where's the cemetery?" Yang Yue tilted his head to look at one of his subordinates, and the monster immediately pointed his hand and said, "It's just ahead." "Playing with me?" Yang Kai's face was gloomy. Yang Yue turned pale in shock, and hurriedly said, "The villain dare not, but the door of the tomb is also an invisible thing, you can't see it at all, unless someone who is about to die enters it, there will be some clues." "Really?" Yang Kai looked at Yang Yue suspiciously. With his current powerful divine sense, he hadn't found anything, but what Yang Yue said was so serious that he couldn't doubt it. "Disaster. Can't you see, sir?" Zhang Ruoxi suddenly asked. "See what?" Yang Kai looked at her in astonishment. "There is a light door over there, a gray-black light door." Zhang Ruoxi pointed to that side. When the monster race heard this, their eyes widened for a moment, and they looked at Zhang Ruoxi in shock. Yang Kai had also fulfilled his goal, swept his spiritual mind wildly, but still found nothing, and said dejectedly, "There is nothing." "How come? It's there." Zhang Ruoxi looked suspicious. Yang Yue looked at Zhang Ruoxi timidly, and asked tentatively, "Girl, can you see the door of the tomb?" "That's right." Zhang Ruoxi didn't know what they were wondering about. Yang Yue's face suddenly became unnatural, and he looked around, and the monsters all had strange expressions. Yang Kai glanced coldly, and hummed, "Didn't you just say that only dying people can see the tomb door? How do you explain this? Could it be that Ruoxi is also dying?" Zhang Ruoxi was startled, raised her eyebrows, and glared at Yang Yue. "It's really not a good thing for this evildoer to curse himself to death." Yang Yue said with a mournful face, It was said in ancient times that this is the case, so villains say that the Tomb of All Souls is an invisible place. I don't know what's wrong today. He turned his head, grabbed one of his men by the collar and lifted him. He got up and said angrily, "Are you sure there is a tomb door over there?" The demon clan hurriedly said, Sure, that woman just disappeared from there, and the door of the tomb flickered when she entered. I was waiting to see for real." The two Yaozu on the side also nodded incessantly. Only then did Yang Yue put him down, and he glanced at Yang Kai uneasily. Boom boom boom. At this moment, there was a very dull sound, as if some huge monster was approaching here, and there was a sound of trees falling to the ground from the direction of the sound source. Yang Kai and the others turned their heads when they heard the sound, only to see the dust billowing over there, and a huge figure was approaching from the jungle, stepping down step by step, shaking the ground. In the sky above the huge figure, there are still many monster races flying over, shouting something while flying, looking extremely anxious. To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn update group at Biaoming Dong Kong Shui. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2569 Catastrophe. My lord, it's the people from the Niu Lord's side. A monster suddenly approached Yang Yue and said in a low voice. Yang Yue's complexion changed slightly when he heard the words. He hurriedly looked in the air, and when he saw the appearance of the giant walking over there, he couldn't help shouting, Niu Quan. He mentioned the name Niu Quan before, although Yang Kai didn't ask carefully. He also knew that Niu Quan was a demon general and should be equal to Yang Yue, but he didn't expect to meet him here today. Yang Kai was thinking about whether to let Yang Yue cooperate with him to kill people, so as not to let those irrelevant monsters find himself mixed with Yang Yue and cause accidents, but he didn't want Yang Yue to fly directly there. Waiting in the middle of the air, he shouted down, "Old Niu, what are you doing?" No response. Yang Yue's expression changed again, and he said anxiously, "Old Niu, I am Lao Yang, you wake up and look at me." Those monster clans who flew all the way with Niu Quan obviously recognized Yang Yue, and immediately some monster clan cried bitterly, "Master Yang, please cast a spell to save my lord." My lord, for some reason today, suddenly appeared true body, running towards this direction regardless. I can't stop it, and there is no response to shouting. Hearing what he said, Yang Yue immediately confirmed the guess in his heart, glanced at the place where the invisible tomb door was, with a hint of sadness on his face, sighed heavily, waved his hands, and fly back to Yang Kai. Rumbling, the tree was broken down the middle, and the huge monster finally rushed out of the woods. Yang Kai fixed his eyes and found a huge bull-shaped monster in front of him. Criss-crossing, obviously the marks left by the passage of time. Each of the four hooves is the size of a house, and every time it falls, the earth shakes and the mountains shake. There are two sickle-like horns on both sides of this monster's head, but one of the horns is cut off, and it is unknown who did it. Not only did the broken horn not weaken the monster's aura, but it made it stronger. Hair makes it look hideous. This should be the demon general named Niu Quan. Yang Kai knew it well, but he didn't know why the monster general showed his real body. Although the fighting power of the monster clan would increase greatly after showing its real body, it was not as flexible as a human body after all, so it was not a last resort. Will not show his true body. What's going on? Yang Kai turned his head and looked at Yang Yue. The deadline has come, it's time to enter the cemetery. Yang Yue sighed slightly, with a hint of sadness in his tone. He knew that Niu Quan would not live long, but he never expected that this day would come so suddenly. Yang Kai glanced at Niu Quan, then at the location of the tomb door pointed by all the monsters, and suddenly realized, can it feel the call of the Tomb of All Souls? Yang Yue nodded and said, all the creatures in the ancient land can feel the location of the Tomb of All Souls before the end is approaching, and they will enter it involuntarily. Lao Niu, hey, with a heavy sigh, he condensed choked speechless. You can take a look at this. Yang Kai raised his brows. He has no friendship with this Niu Quan. He was not sure whether the Tomb of All Souls is real or not. Now there is a way to verify it, so Yang Kai didn't have any feelings but looked at it with relish, just as an eye-opener. The group of Niu Quan's subordinates were still calling, but after it turned into a real body, it seemed that it could not hear any sound, and only knew to walk step by step towards the location of the tomb door. After a while, all the monster clans who followed learned the truth of the matter from Yang Yue's subordinates. Knowing that their lord was going to enter the Tomb of All Souls, all of them immediately looked sad and mournful. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, the cow walked all the way to the open area of the valley, suddenly stopped, raised its head to the sky and let out a low cry, and plunged headlong forward. Yang Kai's eyes widened for a moment. Because in the void, a gray-black light door suddenly flashed. The light door was more than 10 feet high, and it had been standing there all the time, but it was hidden in the invisible. I'm afraid others won't see it yet. As Yang Yue said before, only the dying creatures in the ancient land can see this tomb door. Niu Quan passed through the door of the tomb, and his huge body quickly disappeared. Ripples passed by, and the door of the tomb also disappeared at the same time. Those monster clans who followed Niu Quan to this place were all weeping bitterly, howling one by one. Yang Yue also smashed his mouth, with a displeased expression on his face. There really is a tomb gate. After witnessing it with his own eyes, Yang Kai knew that Yang Yue and the others hadn't lied to deceive him just now, and thus confirmed that the third child really entered the Tomb of All Souls. What should I do now? Yang Kai is one head and too big, he doesn't know what danger is there, if he enters it, how to get out, in case this Tomb of All Spirits is a place where there is no way out, wouldn't it be a dead end to enter it? Even though he had space power close by, he didn't dare to act rashly. But Ruoxi, that girl, it was really strange that she was able to see the door of the tomb before. Thinking of this, he turned his head to look at Zhang Ruoxi. It was okay if he didn't look at it, but he was startled when he saw it, because Zhang Ruoxi unexpectedly came to the front of the tomb door at some point, and stretched out a hand towards the invisible tomb door. Go, there is a strange light in a pair of beautiful eyes, which looks extremely strange. If you regret, what are you doing? Yang Kai shouted. Zhang Ruoxi's tender body trembled, and she suddenly came back to her senses. When she found that she had unknowingly arrived in front of the tomb door, Warong's face paled immediately, and she wanted to pull back. But at this moment, the hidden tomb door was revealed again, and this time it was completely revealed. In the empty valley, a huge gray-black light door emitted a strange light, and in a flash, the light enveloped the entire valley. All the monster races shrouded by this light were horrified to find that they could not move. Their eyes showed a look of extreme horror, and they kept yelling. Yang Kai was also furious. Under the gray-black light shrouded, no matter how he pushed the power, he couldn't move his steps, and even if he used the space power, he couldn't move away. All the living people and demons in the valley seemed to have been immobilized. Sir, Zhang Ruoxi almost cried. She couldn't tell what she had done, but the scene in front of her was obviously not a good thing. She was terrified and blamed herself at the same time. Tired to death. Help, my lord. Yang Yue opened his mouth and called out, expecting Yang Kai to save him, but when he turned his eyes and found that Yang Kai was also a mud bodhisattva crossing the river, he couldn't protect himself, and his heart sank to the bottom of the valley. This change happened so fast that no one could react. Yang Kai struggled for a while and found that he couldn't escape. He gritted his teeth and wanted to sacrifice the mountain and river bell, but at this moment, the tomb door flashed again, and the reappeared tomb door disappeared again. Along with it, all the living creatures in the valley disappeared. A gray-black world, no sun, moon, stars, flowers, trees, dead silence, like a cemetery. Yang Kai and Zhang Ruoxi appeared together with many monster races, and the mysterious power that restrained them disappeared all of a sudden. Yang Kai immediately flashed to Zhang Ruoxi's side, urged Emperor Yuan to cover him, and looked around vigilantly. What he saw, Yang Kai couldn't help but froze. Everyone seems to be standing on a mountain of bones, and as far as their eyes can see, there are white bones. The skeletons scattered on the ground are of different sizes. The small ones are almost negligible, while the big ones are huge. Niu Quan's real body is not worth mentioning. I don't know how many years these bones were left by monsters who died. They are all extremely fragile, and when touched by a little external force, they will turn into bone fragments and scatter down. Moo! A beast roar came from not far away. Yang Kai turned his head to look, his eyes narrowed. Niu Quan. The Niu Quan that I saw in the valley earlier is also here, but now it is lingering with death, lying quietly somewhere in the bone mountain, motionless, old, looking like it is waiting to die stance. Dots of fluorescent light danced from its flesh and blood, like dancing elves, adding a bit of life to this gray-black monotonous world, and the fluorescent light seemed to be drawn by something, and it was flying towards the depths. With the disappearance of the fluorescence, the vitality of the cow's whole body became increasingly dimmer. Tomb of All Spirits. Yang Kai's face suddenly sank. If he had guessed before, then after seeing Niu Quan, it was already clear what this place was. Tomb of All Souls. The entire tomb of the creatures in the ancient land has no place to enter and no exit. Even if the most powerful demon king enters here, there is no way to get out alive. Why did you come to this ghost place? Previously Yang Kai was still hesitating whether to come in and explore, looking for the trace of the third child, but now he is fine, he has already come in if he wants to, there is no chance for him to hesitate. Sir, I'm sorry, I didn't know what happened just now. Zhang Ruoxi was about to cry, and she also knew that she had made a big mistake, but the situation just now was really beyond her control, her body was beyond her control at all. Ever since she entered this wild and ancient land, she found that something was wrong with herself, but she didn't want to get into such a disaster. Yang Kai turned his head to glance at her, stretched out his hand and patted her on the head, but didn't say anything. It's too late to say anything now, since Jin has come in, there's no use scolding Zhang Ruoxi, and he also noticed earlier that Zhang Ruoxi didn't mean to do this, the most important thing now is to leave this ghost place. He turned his head and looked at Yang Yue. After all, Yang Yue is a native of the monster clan here, and his understanding of the Tomb of All Souls is beyond his own. If there is any way out, he must know it well. After looking at it, Yang Kai's mouth twitched, knowing that Yang Yue might not be able to help him, because at this moment, Yang Yue and the group of monsters were standing in place stupidly, a layer of gray and black the rays of light enveloped them, and bits of fluorescent light were radiating from their bodies. To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn Update group at Biaoming Dongkong Shui. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2570 The Prestige of 10,000 Beast Seals. This is true for all the cattle, and the same is true for Yang Yue's group of monsters. The fluorescence that escapes from their bodies is obviously related to their vitality. The more they pass, the dimmer their vitality. Niu Quan can also be said to be a general, who took the initiative to come here to die, but Yang Yue and a group of monster clans were all implicated. My lord, help! Yang Yue noticed Yang Kai's gaze, raised his head, and shouted tremblingly with a lifeless look on his face. Yang Kai's expression was awkward, he clenched his fist and coughed dryly, saying, I can't do anything about this matter, what about that, you can ask for more blessings. He couldn't even figure out what was going on with the Tomb of All Souls, how he saved the sheep and helped them. It is possible to send them into mysterious Shaoji, maybe they can escape, but mysterious Shaoji is Yang Kai's top secret, except for those few who can be trusted, he will not expose it at all, in order to save these monsters. The existence of mysterious small world is not worthwhile. When Yang Yue heard this, he immediately despaired, but soon looked at Yang Kai in amazement and said, My lord, why are you, safe and sound? Yang Kai actually found out about this, among all the people sucked into the tomb gate, only he and Zhang Ruoxi are safe and sound, and the other monster races are all losing their vitality quickly. If he hadn't discovered this, Yang Kai wouldn't have calmed down so quickly. I don't know, maybe we are not because of the ancient land creatures. Didn't you say that this is the tomb of the ancient land creatures? Yang Kai explained casually. Apart from this explanation, he didn't know the reason for the current situation. There are such good things. The corners of Yang Yue's mouth twitched, and there was a venomous light in his eyes. If you hadn't ordered me to look for the whereabouts of that crazy woman, how could you have been involved in the Tomb of All Souls and ended up here again? Now that I'm all right, I've got bad luck, and I don't see myself surviving. On the contrary, you are at ease, so you don't have to worry about it at all. He died here, but he still didn't give a helping hand. Yang Yue is so angry in his heart, he can't wait to tear Yang Kai to vent his hatred. My lord, you can't just ignore us. Yang Yue gritted his teeth and shouted. Yang Kai frowned and said impatiently, I said I have no choice, the ghost knows what's going on with this cemetery. While talking, he suddenly looked at Yang Yue, with a sneer on the corner of his mouth, and said, Why, you very angry? Nonsense. Who won't be angry about this matter? He was going to die anyway. Yang Yue suddenly became courageous, his eyes were cold and he said, Sir, if you let go of it, maybe I will drag you to be buried with you. Yang Kai was immediately amused, squinting at him and said, Pull me to be buried with you. Have you forgotten that your life and death are only a matter of this young master's thought? What qualifications do you have to take me to be buried with you? Quote. Yang Yue's expression froze, and he suddenly lost his temper. Just now he was so angry that he forgot about it, but now he suddenly realized that even if he wanted to take Yang Kai to be buried with him, he didn't have the capital and the soul seal was still held by others. For a moment, grief came from his heart, and he fell down on the ground, crying loudly, "Tragedy, tragedy, I think that my old sheep has worked so hard to practice so far, and he is about to die before he has time to enjoy the blessings. God is really short-sighted. God, old sheep, I am at odds with you." The way he cried was heart-piercing, his voice was sorrowful, and the other monster races were also desolate when they heard it. Falling into the cemetery, they can also foresee their end, but no sheep is so exaggerated, but they must feel uncomfortable in their hearts. Yang Kai snorted. "Don't cry so ugly, if you die, you will die together, you will have companions on the road to Wangquan, and you will not be alone." Yang Yue wiped away a couple of tears, and said angrily, "You don't feel pain in your back when you stand and talk, the cemetery is the cemetery of ancient land creatures, what's the matter with you?" Yang Kai curled his lips and stopped talking. In fact, he was also very surprised why he and Zhang Ruoxi were not affected by this ancient land, but the other monster races were all losing their vitality and turning into fluorescent lights. "Is it really the same as what I said just now?" At this moment, a whimper sounded suddenly, and strands of jet-black rays of light shot out from under the white bones. As soon as those jet-black rays of light appeared, they turned into all kinds of strange figures of monsters and beasts, killing those who were alive. The Yaozu fell to the ground. Every black shadow of monster beasts colliding with them can dim the vitality of those monster races, and the speed of the fluorescent light that flies out suddenly accelerates. "Beast soul!" Yang Yue turned pale with shock and screamed. Yang Kai's complexion also changed, because after a while, thousands of black shadows flew out from the bottom of the bone mountain. These black shadows were somewhat similar in nature to ghosts, and they were all dark and obviously died here. The beast soul left by the monster. The tomb of all souls has existed for an unknown number of years, and countless monsters have died here in these countless years. After these monsters died, the beast souls remained behind, and the number is simply incalculable. In the blink of an eye, countless beast souls flew over the bone mountain. Each of them had different shapes, and they all retained the shape of their previous lives. They all had a strong aura, and the dark black seemed to cover the entire cemetery, like locusts passing through. Yang Yue is a group of monsters who want to resist, but how can they resist? It didn't take long for each monster clan to be surrounded by dense beast souls, and screams came one after another, as if they had suffered some inhuman torture, and they probably couldn't survive. Zhang Ruoxi's pretty face turned pale, she clung to Yang Kai and dared not move rashly. With previous experience in dealing with ghosts, Yang Kai directly sacrificed the slave insect bracelet without saying a word, released all the soul-eating insects, gathered around himself and Zhang Ruoxi to form a protective shield of insect clouds, and ensured himself first. For the safety of the beasts, the extra soul-eaters were left to chase after those beast souls. As soon as the soul-devouring insect came out, the countless beast souls had obviously met their nemesis, and they avoided the place where Yang Kai and Zhang Ruoxi were, not daring to get close. Yang Kai was very pleasantly surprised. The performance of the Soul Eater in the ancient land was too eye-catching. It is definitely the best way to deal with things like ghosts. He secretly decided to focus on cultivating it in the future. When the Soul Eater grows up, he said maybe it will be a fight to meet the Ghost Emperor again in the future. The old guy relied on his high cultivation base to indulge his daughter's misbehavior, but he was helpless, which really made Yang Kai hate it. The cries of Yang Yue and other human monsters over there were annihilated one after another, and within a few tens of breaths of time, there was no movement, obviously they were all dead. Yang Kai felt that the soul seal belonging to Yang Yue that he controlled was broken, which made him feel a little embarrassed. Although he didn't intend to pay attention to Yang Yue's life and death before, and he only wanted him to find the whereabouts of the third child for him in controlling him, but it was still a bit unexpected to die like this. "Sir, let a gap come out," Zhang Ruoxi said suddenly. Yang Kai didn't know what she was going to do. He was really scared by Zhang Ruoxi's previous actions. He was bitten by a snake for 10 years and was afraid of the well rope, but when he saw Zhang Ruoxi took out a big seal in his hand, his eyes lit up, and he said controlling the Soul Eater released a gap. Zhang Ruoxi patted the print with her hand, and directly took it out. Immediately afterwards, he kept pinching the spirit art with his hands to control the power of the Great Seal. After the big seal flew out, it grew up against the wind, and suddenly turned into the size of a house, as black as a black hole. Clatter. There was a sound of chains swinging, and as Zhang Ruoxi's spell changed, countless black chains suddenly shot out from the inside of the big seal, and shot all around. The souls of the flying beasts were entangled and locked by the pitch-black chains one by one without noticing. The chain stretched straight, and under Zhang Ruoxi's control, the locked beast souls were pulled towards the seal, and in the blink of an eye, hundreds of aggressive beast souls were pulled into the seal and disappeared. No matter how those beast souls struggled, they couldn't get rid of them. Have you refined this 10,000 beast seal? Yang Kai looked surprised and asked. It has been completely refined a few days ago. Zhang Ruoxi kept her hands on her hands, and said happily, I didn't expect this to be a good thing. That big seal is the 10,000 beast seal of Zhu Hong, the lord of Kunyuan City. After Zhu Hong was killed by Yang Kai in the ancient medicine garden, the 10,000 beast seal was given to Zhang Ruoxi to defend himself. After all, this is an emperor treasure with impressive power, and its power has nothing to do with itself, but has something to do with the strength of the beast souls sealed in it. The more beast souls sealed inside, the stronger the strength, the greater the power of the seal of the beasts, and vice versa. After Zhu Hong got the seal of 10,000 beasts, he only killed less than 1,000 monsters through hard work, and sealed the beast souls of thousands of monsters with secret methods, and most of those beast souls were of the 11th or 10th rank, the 12th level can be counted, and the true power of the seal of the 1,000 beasts cannot be exerted at all. But in this tomb of all spirits, the beast souls of 12th order monsters can be found everywhere. If Zhang Ruoxi really sealed all of them into the seal of 10,000 beasts, the power that this emperor treasure could display at that time would be unimaginable. Beast souls are hard to find. After all, only by killing a monster can one obtain a beast soul, and one needs to sacrifice it with a secret method to prevent the beast soul from being damaged. A damaged beast soul has no power. But this place is a place where the natural beast souls gather, and it is simply a place tailor-made for the seal of 10,000 beasts to replenish its power. Before, she was still thinking about where she should go to kill monsters and increase the power of the seal of 10,000 beasts, but she didn't want to bump into her head on this good thing. How could she not be happy? Throughout the ages, countless ancient creatures died here, and even those powerful demon kings whose strength was comparable to that of Emperor Zun's third-layer realm could not avoid it. One can imagine how many tyrannical beast souls gathered here. If all the beast souls here were sealed into the seal of 10,000 beasts, and then pulled out to face the enemy, the entire star realm would be shocked. Crash la la la, the sound of the chains flying across the sky kept ringing, and every time Zhang Ruoxi made a move, hundreds of beast souls were dragged into the 10,000 beast seal and sealed, and then repeated the same process again and again. He was extremely busy. Yang Kai looked greedy. To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn update group at Biaoming Dongkong Shui. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2571 Get Rich. The 10,000 Beast Seal has a strong restraint on the existence of beast souls. No matter how strong or small the flying beast souls are, once they are locked by the 10,000 Beast Seal, they will never be able to break free. Yang Kai clearly saw that many beast souls comparable to 12th order monsters were dragged in. Ruoxi has made a big fuss this time. After this trip, the power of the seal of 10,000 beasts should be raised to what extent? Thinking about it, Yang Kai's face darkened again. This is the tomb of all souls. He still doesn't know how to get out, and he doesn't know if tearing the space is useful here. Clatter. The countless beast souls wandered and collided, shattering the bone mountain, and white bones were continuously turned into powder. A dim yellow light suddenly entered Yang Kai's eyes. Yang Kai stretched out his hand out of curiosity, and grabbed the radiant thing in his hand, starting with the cool, round thing, and the pretty good energy fluctuations immediately passed over. Neaten. Yang Kai's eyes lit up, revealing a look of surprise. This turned out to be the inner alchemy of a monster, and judging from the energy fluctuations, it seemed to be the inner alchemy of a 10th order monster. He stood there in a daze for a while, and he didn't know what he thought of, but he seemed extremely excited. When he stretched out his hand and flicked his sleeve, a gust of wind suddenly blew up. Hoo-hoo! The bone mountain collapsed, and countless animal bones turned into fly ash, rushing in all directions, as if a white storm had arisen on the spot, and at the very center of the storm, an open area with a radius of more than 10 feet was left. Dozens of inner pills of different colors are lying on the ground in a disorderly manner. Ha ha ha! Yang Kai couldn't help laughing loudly. Looking at the dozens of inner alchemy on the ground, he almost burst into tears. Although Zhang Ruoxi has been using her heart to seal the beast soul, but she has also observed Yang Kai's movements, and when she saw it now, she exclaimed, "Sir, could it be that the inner alchemy of those monster beasts have also stayed here?" It must be so. Ruoxi, we've gotten bigger now. Yang Kai happily replied, and then took back the dozens of inner pills in the air. These dozens of inner alchemy have different qualities, but the lowest one has the 9th rank, and the highest one has the 12th rank. Countless monsters died in this tomb of all spirits. Their souls after death turned into beast souls to guard this place. Their bodies turned into fluorescent light and disappeared, but the inner alchemy remained intact. It is impossible to count how many beast souls there are, and similarly, it is also impossible to count how many inner alchemy there are here. The inner alchemy of monsters has many uses, at most it is used in alchemy, and many panaceas need the assistance of inner alchemy of monsters. Yang Kai has accumulated a lot of spiritual grasses and wonderful medicines in his hand. If he can get enough inner alchemy here, then he can have more choices when refining the elixir. Before, he thought that Zhang Ruoxi came here because of a chance, but he didn't expect this chance to fall on him in the blink of an eye. If the inner alchemy in this cemetery were wiped out, what a huge fortune would it be? I'm afraid even those 10 emperors are jealous. After collecting the dozens of inner alchemy, Yang Kai waved his hand and swept away a piece of nearby bones. Immediately there were dozens of inner alchemy of different quality on the ground. Zhang Ruoxi is working hard to seal the beast soul. Yang Kai is also working hard to collect the inner alchemy. The two perform their duties without interfering with each other, and truly cooperate seamlessly. At the beginning, Yang Kai would sweep away the bones, but he found it a bit troublesome, so he simply let go of his divine sense to find the hidden locations of the inner alchemy, and then popped out the golden blood thread to bury the inner alchemy from the bones. Come here, and save yourself from making this place a mess. The efficiency has improved a lot at once. In a short time, Zhang Ruoxi took away all the nearby beast souls, and Yang Kai searched out the inner alchemy on the ground with a radius of more than 10 miles. Although there is no detailed count, there are tens of thousands of inner alchemy. Among the tens of thousands of inner alchemy, even if the 12th level monster inner alchemy only accounts for 1%, there are hundreds of 12th level inner alchemy, each of which is priceless. Go, change places. The surrounding area was empty, there was no beast soul or inner alchemy. Yang Kai immediately pulled Zhang Ruoxi to move his position. As for how to get out, it's not too late to think about it after getting enough benefits first. On the top of another bone mountain, Zhang Ruoxi sacrificed the 10,000 beast seal, and Yang Kai released his divine sense to find the inner alchemy hidden under the bones. Before and after less than a cup of tea, this place was wiped out again. Needless to say, Yang Kai wrapped Zhang Ruoxi and switched positions again. All the way down, the beast soul was sealed by Zhang Ruoxi, and the inner alchemy was looted by Yang Kai. Since the birth of the entire Tomb of All Souls, this is probably the first time that such a change has occurred. This is simply looting. If the 4 great holy spirits of the wild and ancient land knew about this, I don't know how they would feel. There is no sun, moon and stars here, and there is no distinction between night and day, but Yang Kai reckons that he and Zhang Ruoxi have stayed here for about 3 days, and they have almost run through the entire cemetery. This should be a small isolated world. The area is not too big. The two spent 3 days here, mainly to seal the beast soul and collect the inner alchemy. If they really worked hard enough to fly, it should not take an hour run around this cemetery. The gains are unimaginable. The 10,000 beast seal is full of gloomy energy and darker. Even if it does not activate its power, people can feel its tyranny. According to Zhang Ruoxi, the 10,000 beast seal is almost saturated, and at least hundreds of thousands of beasts are sealed inside. Only beast souls, not including those devoured by soul-eating insects. The soul-devouring insects have also been greatly nourished these days. More than half of the beast souls were sealed by Zhang Ruoxi, and the remaining half were devoured by them. The soul devourer now conveyed a lazy mood to Yang Kai, as if there were some signs of wanting to sleep. Yang Kai knew that they were a sign of evolution, and he was very happy in his heart. And the number of inner alchemy that Yang Kai got in his hands is more than 1,000,000. The inner alchemy in the open space of mysterious small world has almost piled up into a hill, and there are everything from 9th to 12th order. If such a large amount of inner alchemy is taken out, no force can eat it alone. Even the sect founded by the emperor does not have the financial resources. After running around the Tomb of All Souls again, after confirming that there were not many fishes that slipped through the net, Yang Kai stopped and turned his head to look in one direction. Sir, do you want to go there? Zhang Ruoxi took the Wanshou seal and stood beside him gracefully. The two of them ran all over the cemetery in the past few days, but they didn't find any exits, let alone the trace of the third child. If there is any exit, it is only possible in that direction, because there are no bones of monsters over there, so the two of them didn't go there to check. There should be the center of the entire Tomb of All Souls, and all the monsters who came here to die surrounded the center in a circle, leaving a large open area alone. Yang Kai had been collecting inner alchemy before, and didn't pay much attention to the situation there. Now I have to go and see, if the third child is still here, then it must be in the central area, and I don't know if she is dead or alive now. Nodding his head, Yang Kai moved his feet and galloped there. Zhang Ruoxi hurriedly followed behind. Passing through the snowy bone mountain, the two of them quickly came to the open area. Looking around, there seemed to be a little gray-black light shining in that extremely far-away place. After a while, his expression brightened. Because the gray-black light was actually the shape of the tomb door I had seen before. Maybe there is really an exit. If you can go out from there, there is no need to use the power of space to tear the space so troublesome, and Yang Kai is not sure that he can tear the interface of a small world. The speed suddenly increased, and in the middle of the journey, Yang Kai suddenly stopped his figure, lowered his head and looked down. Zhang Ruoxi also widened her beautiful eyes with a stunned expression. Because somewhere below, there was an extremely ferocious aura, and the source of that aura was a thin and skinny body. Look at that appearance, with disheveled hair and a mess, but obviously still alive. On that thin body, traces of black air entangled, and dots of fluorescent light were constantly flying away. Monster clan, Zhang Ruoxi whispered, and at a glance, he could tell that the creature over there was a monster clan, and it was a very powerful monster clan. It's a demon king, Yang Kai added, shocked. He didn't know how this demon king appeared here, because this area didn't seem like a place where the demon clan could set foot, otherwise it wouldn't be so empty, it would have been filled with bones. Moreover, the demon king is obviously not dead yet, and is working hard to resist the loss of his own vitality. But judging by his appearance, he probably won't last long. No wonder Yang Yue said before that even the most powerful demon king will die if he enters the Tomb of All Souls. The demon king in front of him is the best evidence. The demon clans that can become demon kings are all comparable to the third-tier emperor. Those who are at the pinnacle of the realm can enter this place and still cannot get out of trouble. After hesitating for a while, Yang Kai stepped in front of the demon king. The demon king was obviously taken aback. His skinny body trembled, and then he looked up at Yang Kai. Those two eye sockets are deep, and the eyes are a bit dull, and they are indeed at the end of their strength. Why is it a human being again? The demon king opened and closed his mouth and squirmed a bit, his cloudy eyes showed a surprised expression. Yang Kai raised his eyebrows, but he heard the meaning behind his words, and frowned. Have you seen other people come here before? The demon king looked like he was about to die, but he was extremely rebellious. He grinned and tried to squeeze out a sneer, which was uglier than crying. Why should this king tell you? Yang Kai's eyes flashed. He pointed to the light gate over there, and said, I will leave from there later. If you want to live, I can take you for a ride. The unruly demon king suddenly lost his composure, and his dull eyes suddenly burst into a bright light, with an expression of excitement on his face, but soon faded away, and hummed, Are you so kind? Yang Kai said indifferently, Everyone takes what they need, as long as you can tell me what I want to know, it's nothing to save your life. To be continued. Provided by Mengwei Close Hollow Corner Bracket. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is the author's greatest motivation. Chapter 2572. What's the benefit of me lying to you? You're going to die soon. Yang Kai looked at him indifferently. The Demon King said, What you human beings say, The implication is that human beings are so deceitful that they are really not worthy of trust. Yang Kai didn't say anything, turned around and left. If that's the case, forget it. Etc. As expected, Yang Kai had only walked a few steps when the Demon King's shout came from behind him. After all, life is at stake, and even a glimmer of hope has to be struggled. Yang Kai turned sideways, squinting. The Demon King muttered something, not sure if it was a curse, and said after a while, Take me out first, I can tell you everything I want to know. Get lost. Yang Kai snorted coldly, no longer bothering to pay attention to him. Seeing that Yang Kai really left like this, the Demon King was in a hurry and didn't have the time to negotiate with Yang Kai, so he said in a hoarse voice, Yes, there was indeed a person who left here before. Yang Kai stopped again, turned around, looked at him indifferently, and said, Don't play any more tricks, or I will leave immediately. The Demon King looked ugly, but he didn't dare to say anything more. Yang Kai Dao, what does the person who leaves here look like? The Demon King said angrily. A woman with disheveled hair and crazy hair, even took an inner alchemy and smashed this king's forehead. This king is really angry. If this king hadn't fallen into Pingyang, how could he be bullied by her like this? Yang Kai sounded funny, but the third child really did something like this, and continued to ask calmly, where did she leave? Good. Hearing this news, Yang Kai couldn't help but feel relieved. He hadn't found any trace of the third child before, and he was really afraid that something might happen to her here. After all, this place is very dangerous, and the countless beast souls are extremely difficult to mess with. Touching his chin, Yang Kai said again, she can leave, why are you trapped here? The Demon King said with grief and indignation, if you can leave, how can I be trapped here? The Tomb of All Souls suppresses the creatures of the ancient land extremely. It is a fluke that I can get here, but I can't do anything if I want to leave. Quote, you don't look like your time is coming, why did you come here? Yang Kai looked at him curiously. Speaking of this, the Demon King was full of blood and tears, and sighed, people have misfortunes and fortunes, and this king came to this ghost place with one foot in the air. Just like the monsters that the Demon King encountered, there are not many in the entire ancient land. Not every creature that enters this place is about to die, but after entering here, it is really the time is coming. It is also because of the strong strength of the Demon King that he can barely come here and get rid of the pursuit of the beast soul, otherwise he would have died long ago without even the scum left. After finishing speaking, the Demon King urged, if you have anything else to ask, hurry up, I won't last long. It's gone. Yang Kai shook his head, his gaze wandering over him. Sensing the ill intentions in his eyes, the Demon King suddenly realized that Yang Kai was about to cross the river and demolish the bridge. What he said earlier was completely nonsense, and he felt extremely sad and indignant for a moment. The words are unbelievable, but I still try it in the hope of just in case, but in the end I will still be driven to death. The Demon King just feels very tired. Unexpectedly, Yang Kai didn't kill him immediately, and after pondering for a while, he said, hand over the soul seal, and you will not die. He knows the taste of the marrow. Before controlling Yang Yue to work for him, his whereabouts were detected as soon as the third child appeared. Yang Yue is just a demon general with a limited number of subordinates. If he can control a Demon King to work for him, if you don't want to talk about looking for the third child, I'm afraid that looking for the little one will get twice the result with half the effort. And with the protection of the Demon King, it is much more convenient to walk and do things in the ancient land by himself. When the Demon King heard it, he snorted like a cat whose tail has been stepped on. Wishful thinking. How could he be willing to be controlled by a human as one of the 32 Demon Kings, with a noble status and powerful strength? This human being doesn't look as good as himself. In his heyday, he could slap him to death with a single slap. How dare he hand over his soul seal? It's a joke. Yang Kai didn't force him, but said lightly, if a person dies, he has nothing, and only if he lives can he have hope. The Demon King sneered, it's better than being enslaved and lingering on. Yang Kai glanced at him, and said lightly, does the Demon King have children? If you die here, what will your children do? The Yaozu who have been bullied by you will definitely not be polite to your children. By the way, the Demon King should have wives and concubines, right? With the status of the Demon King, those wives and concubines should all be as beautiful as flowers, enchanting and charming. After you die, those wives and concubines will probably follow others, let others ravage and taste, and ecstasy. The Demon King can no longer feel the taste of bone erosion. What a pity, what a pity, a group of orphans and widows. I'm afraid life will be difficult in the future. The Demon King listened to Yang Kai's words, and his already gloomy complexion suddenly turned black. He only felt that the words of this human being were so heartbreaking, which made him inevitably think of the tragic end of those children, wives and concubines after his death. Especially those wives and concubines, if they were pushed by others to run wild. Unable to think about it anymore, the Demon King's eyeballs were red, and hot air was constantly spraying from his nostrils. Zhang Ruoxi, who was listening, was also extremely uncomfortable. Her little face flushed slightly, and she thought to herself why she said everything, it was too embarrassing. The Demon King's complexion changed, and the speed of the stream of light flying out of his body suddenly accelerated a lot, as if it was because of the change of mood that he couldn't suppress his own aging. To Yang Kai's surprise, after a while, the Demon King turned his head and said, this king would rather die than submit. Didn't this make him give in? Yang Kai was slightly stunned, and had some admiration for this guy in his heart. When ordinary people are about to die, they are afraid that they can agree to any conditions. Like Yang Yue, if you ask him to hand over his soul seal, he will immediately hand over his soul seal. However, this demon king has some integrity, which is really impressive. There is no other way, I can only enlarge the move. Yang Kai is still counting on the demon king to work for him, he can't kill him now. He raised his head and gave Zhang Ruoxi a wink, and said coldly, give him some color. Zhang Ruoxi was stunned for a moment, but her mind was clever, and she immediately understood what Yang Kai meant. She stretched out her hand to slap the void, and the 10,000 beast seal was immediately sacrificed. The demon king kept sneering, if you want to kill it, don't talk nonsense. The posture of seeing death as home is also eye-catching. Yang Kai didn't say a word, but Zhang Ruoxi was making a tactic with both hands, and kept hitting the 10,000 beast seal. In an instant, the sound of swishing could be heard endlessly, and beast souls of different sizes flew out of the 10,000 beast seal. In a short time, the vast void was filled. Each of the beast souls retains the appearance of the previous life, all of them are majestic and awe-inspiring. Look at the aura, they are not weaker than the demon king, and some are even worse. The demon king widened his eyes and stared blankly. Zhang Ruoxi said, this is the seal of 10,000 beasts, which has a strong restraint power against the souls of monsters like you. Monster King, are you submitting to my husband now, or I will use the seal of 10,000 beasts to accept your soul after you die? Let you never be reincarnated, you choose yourself. The thin body of the demon king suddenly trembled, raised a hand to point at Yang Kai, and said in grief and indignation, you are really deceiving people too much. He could rather die than give up his soul imprint in order to survive, but so what? Once the seal of 10,000 beasts came out, even if he died, he would have no peace, and his soul would still be taken into the seal of 10,000 beasts. At that time, life would be worse than death. Yang Kai chuckled, signaling Zhang Ruoxi to accept the 10,000 beast seal, then stretched out his hand and patted the demon king's shoulder, saying, don't talk so harshly, the demon king would rather be broken than broken. The heroism is really admirable, but after all, you and I are monsters, so there is no benefit for me. Why should I save you? You promised me just now. The demon king glared at Yang Kai, but there was nothing he could do about it. Yang Kai rubbed his chin and said, at this time and at that time, as the saying goes, those who know the current affairs are heroes. To be honest, Demon King, I will not embarrass you. You surrender to me and I just want you to do some small things. I will leave the ancient land after the matter is settled, and I will definitely give you back your freedom at that time. Can I still believe what you said? The Demon King looked at Yang Kai with contempt. Yang Kai hummed, do you have a choice now? This person turned his face faster than turning the pages of a book, and he was taken aback by the Demon King. I don't have the time to dawdle with you. Either hand over the soul seal, or kill you immediately and put your soul into the 10,000 beast seal. I can figure it out. Yang Kai waved his hand, his tone unquestionable. Over there, Zhang Ruoxi had already controlled the seal of 10,000 beasts to fly over the Demon King's head, and she was assuming that she would do it immediately if she dared not agree. The Demon King was unwilling, but there was nothing he could do. He could only grit his teeth and growl, hand it up. The voice was full of grief and resentment. This time it really was Tiger Luo Pingyang being bullied by dogs, and Long Yu Qinshui being teased by shrimps. Yang Kai immediately put on a smiling face and stretched out a hand towards him. The Monster King urged it with a secret method, and soon, a ray of golden light emerged from his forehead. Yang Kai grabbed it and sealed it into his sea of consciousness. This trip into the cemetery, there is no Yang Yue, but there is an extra Demon King, which is not a loss. And the Demon King who cast the secret technique and handed over his soul imprint was also extremely weak at the moment. The light on his body collapsed, as if he was about to die. Yang Kai grabbed him, turned around and rushed towards the gray-black light gate, asking, it's fine to go out from here, right? The Demon King nodded slightly, his eyes were complicated. This time he was out of trouble, but he lost his freedom. From then on, he was enslaved by others, which was not what he wanted, so he didn't feel the joy of escaping death at all, but felt very depressed. Not long after, Yang Kai had brought the Demon King to the front of the light gate. He urged Emperor Yuan to envelop the Demon King and Zhang Ruoxi, and then rushed in. In a blink of an eye, the 2-in-1 demon had already left the Tomb of All Souls and reappeared in a lush world. Surrounded by ancient trees, towering into the clouds, and surrounded by wild power, it is somewhere in the wild ancient land. It was so easy, Yang Kai couldn't help being a little surprised. It seems that the existence of the Tomb of All Souls is really aimed at the creatures of this barren ancient land, and does not restrict the entry and exit of outsiders. Of course, after entering, they must escape the pursuit of countless beast souls, otherwise it will be a dead end. Looking around, it is no longer the valley where I entered the Tomb of All Souls before, and I don't know what the hell this is. To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn update group at Biaoming Dong Kong Shui. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2573 Xie Wei. The appearance of the three of them seemed to cause a little commotion. A monster race not far away rushed over to investigate, and before they could get close, the monster king who was held by Yang Kai let out a low growl and ran like lightning go straight to the monster clan. There was a scream, and the monster clan didn't even see who was attacking him, and he was knocked down on the ground. The monster king opened his mouth and bit his neck, swallowing the blood in big mouthfuls. After a while, the Yaozu who was thrown on the ground struggled continuously but could not get rid of it, and gradually became silent. After a while, the demon king got up, wiped the corners of his mouth, and turned back. The blood of the monster clan seems to be very nourishing to him, and his skinny appearance has also improved a little. At least the skin has a little more luster, and even a lot of flesh and blood have grown, and the sluggish vitality has also increased. He glanced at Yang Kai with complicated eyes, but finally lowered his head and sighed heavily. What is the name of the Demon King? Yang Kai asked. Thank you, Wu Wei. The Demon King replied angrily, but seeing that Yang Kai didn't neglect him in the slightest because he was a soul slave, he was relieved. He was really afraid that Yang Kai would boss him around as soon as he came up. If that was the case, with his outburst of temper, he would definitely not be able to bear it. Fearless and meaningless, a good name for the Demon King. Yang Kai smiled slightly. Xie Wei waved his hand and said, You are blind. After a moment of silence, he asked again, What should I call you? Yang Kai said, Call Young Master Yang. Xie Wei nodded slightly, and said, Yang Xiao said earlier that he wanted me to do something, but I don't know what it is. He couldn't wait to finish Yang Kai's business, and then he wanted to get rid of his control, and he didn't hide it at all. No rush. Yang Kai chuckled lightly. Take me back to your territory first, and then we can talk about what I want to do. I can't do it with less manpower. Want to go back to your own territory? Xie Wei looked bored. As one of the 32 road demon kings, he has a high status and status. If he is really seen mixing with a human being and instructed to do this or that by this human being, in the future this old face should where to put it. Seeming to see what he was thinking, Yang Kai said, Don't worry, the Demon King, I won't make it difficult for you. But if your subordinates ask, you can say that this young master came to visit your friend from outside, the ancient land demon. It doesn't matter if the clan makes 1 or 2 human friends outside, right? Xie Wei twitched the corner of his mouth, and said against his will, It doesn't matter. If it weren't for the soul seal being controlled by Yang Kai, how could he obey orders? But now that he is under the eaves, he has to bow his head. At that moment, the three of them stretched out their bodies and rushed towards the depths of the ancient land. Xie Wei is undoubtedly very familiar with the wild ancient land, leading Yang Kai and Zhang Ruoxi on a rampage all the way. There is no need to hide at all. Occasionally, a few monsters with no eyesight came to investigate along the road, and they all became food for Xie Wei to replenish his vitality. Half a day later, a towering mountain appeared in front of him, and there were some buildings hidden on the mountain. When he looked closer, Yang Kai realized that those buildings were clearly made of large and small stones. There was not much beauty to speak of, but they looked rough and unrestrained, just like the disposition of the monster race. From the mountainside, there are countless caves, and many monster races live in those caves. Yang Kai waited for the three of them to fly over, which obviously alarmed the monster races, and they all went out of the cave to investigate, but before they could see clearly, the three of them had already rushed into the only hall. Immediately, several beautiful maidservants greeted him in the hall, looked at Xie Wei fearfully, bowed and saluted, My lord. Xie Wei was in a bad mood. He didn't even bother to pay attention to these maidservants. He rushed in without looking sideways, but Yang Kai and Zhang Ruoxi, who were following behind Xie Wei, provoked those maidservants to look sideways. After all, the two of them didn't have any evil spirit. They were clearly human beings, and they didn't know how Xie Wei brought 2 humans back when he went out. And judging by the posture of these 2 humans, they didn't seem to be the adults, captives either. Above the main hall, there is a throne of white bones, which is carved from the bones of an unknown monster. It is as rough as ever. Xie Wuwei went straight forward, turned around, shook his robe, and sat on it, with a pair of tiger eyes looking at the four directions with disdain. There is also some majesty. But soon, Xie Wuwei showed an embarrassed expression. As soon as he returned to his own place, he felt at ease. He forgot about his current situation. Seeing Yang Kai, who was standing below smiling and looking at him, Xie Wuwei hurriedly stood up again. "The Demon King, just sit down, we are just your friends who came here outside." Yang Kai said. He saw the temper of the Demon King, who would rather die than surrender, so he didn't want to embarrass him too much. After all, he still has something to do. There is no need to care too much about superficial skills. Xie Wuwei was grateful in his heart, felt that this human being was quite reasonable, and the rejection in his heart was not so strong, so he took advantage of the situation and sat down again, stretched out his hand and said, "Young Master Yang, please sit down." Yang Kai smiled slightly, turned around and walked to the side, found a place to sit down, looked around, and found that this place was much more atmospheric than Yang Yue's 1-acre land. No matter the style or the layout, it was not the same level. Thinking that the Demon King is worthy of being the Demon King, and Yang Yue is incomparable to a mere demon general. When he came here just now, he also felt that there were a lot of 12th order monsters on this mountain, and they were almost human emperors. There are so many emperor prestige realms under the Demon King of the Road, and how many are gathered in the 32 roads, not to mention that there are 4 holy spirits in this wild ancient land. If such a group of evildoers were really pulled out, apart from the 10 great emperors joining forces to resist, they might really be able to sweep the entire star realm. The wild and ancient land really shouldn't be underestimated. Zhang Ruoxi stood obediently behind him, looking around curiously with her beautiful eyes. "Come on," Xie Wuwei yelled out in a deep voice. Immediately, 6 imposing monster races flashed in from outside. They seemed to have been waiting for a long time. All of them had a strong aura, and Yang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly, because the feeling these monster races gave him was not weaker than Emperor Zun's territory. The 6 monster races entered the hall, clasped their fists together, and said, "I've seen you, my lord." Xie Wuwei raised his hand, signaling that they don't need to be polite, and then said, "During the time this king left, nothing happened, right?" He didn't tell his subordinates that he accidentally fell into the Tomb of All Souls, otherwise he couldn't explain how to escape. A thin monster from the left immediately took a step forward, cupped his fists and said, "Master, I have something important to report." "What's the matter?" Xie Wuwei asked lightly without raising his eyes, took the tea handed over by his maid, and took a sip lightly. The tea did not know what it was brewed from. It was dark red, as thick as fresh blood, but exuded a strange aroma. Hearing the question, the Yaozu cast a hesitant glance at Yang Kai, who was sitting on the side, hesitant to speak. This is obviously because he doesn't want to report the matter in front of a human being, so as not to reveal the secret. Xie Wuwei took a sip of the tea, put down the bone cup, raised his eyes and said, "But it's okay, Yang Xiao is the king's life and death friend, there is nothing to hide. It is also helpless to say this, now his soul seal is controlled by Yang Kai, life and death are only in Yang Kai's thought. Even if he wants Yang Kai to retreat, he is powerless." He secretly regretted that if he knew something was wrong, he shouldn't have called his subordinates in. Now that the situation is getting worse, he can only bite the bullet and let his subordinates report. Several monster clans were also surprised when they heard the words. Before they saw a human being sitting in the hall, they were still full of suspicion. They didn't know what the origin of this guy was, but he was received by Lord Monster King like this. Now when I heard Xie Wuwei say that it was a life and death relationship, I was even more shocked. When did Lord Demon King become so friendly with a human being? But after thinking about it, Lord Demon King once left the ancient land decades ago, and it seems that he went out to the human world. He heard that the trip was extremely dangerous and he almost died. Later, he found out that the Demon King was rescued by a human. One life, only to be able to return to the ancient land safely. Unknowingly, several monster clans connected Yang Kai with the benefactor who saved Xie Wuwei's life, and suddenly, the arrogance and disdain in their eyes subsided a lot. The monster clan said in a deep voice, "My lord, the blood gate has changed." Blood door. Xie Wuwei paused his hands, raised his eyes in shock and looked at his subordinates, who nodded slightly. Xie Wuwei's breathing suddenly became rapid, and he said in a deep voice, "Is the news accurate?" The monster clan said, There is no doubt that it was discovered by a subordinate of the Xile Demon King at the beginning, but many people saw it at the time and reported it one after another. Now the situation on the side of the Blood Gate has alarmed 4 people. Holy One, they are sending people to investigate. Xie Wuwei suddenly became a little uneasy, stood up and hurriedly said, "Tell me the details." "Yes," the monster clan replied, sorted out its wording, and said, "It was more than a month ago, the bloody gate suddenly burst into blood, shooting up into the sky, but it only returned to calm for a moment, but in this month within a short period of time, the blood gate obviously became a little different from before, it seemed to exude a kind of magic power, and many people couldn't help rushing in after approaching, and many people had been killed there." Blood attracts. Xie Wuwei's eyes flashed wildly. The monster clan nodded and said, "That's what I guessed too. My subordinate risked his life to investigate and found that the blood gate could indeed attract his subordinates, making them want to rush over regardless of everything. Take action at any time, and the subordinates must have been caught. There are signs that the blood door will open, and the ancient rumors are true." Xie Wuwei listened excitedly, with his hands behind his back. He walked back and forth on the high platform, stopped after a while, and said in a deep voice, "What does the Holy One mean?" The Yaozu said, "The calibers of the sages are the same, let me not mistakenly believe the rumors and risk my life." Now near the blood gate, the 8 envoys have dispatched together to seal off the surroundings, and no one can get close. Quote, "Misbelieve in rumors," Xie Wuwei sneered, "it's our instinct to attract blood. The saints thought that they would be safe and sound if they blocked Yu's mouth. 1 or 2 saints will affect their status." To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn Update group at Cha Shang Meng Wei. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations, monthly tickets, your support is the author's greatest motivation. Chapter 2574 Big Guy. Phone reading. Xie Wuwei had an expression of resentment on his face, and the outrageous words made several of his subordinates tremble with fear, thinking to himself that the Lord is really out of temper. Fortunately there are no outsiders here, otherwise if the sages listen to these words, the Lord may not be able to bear it walk around. Pinshu.com www.vodtw.com. Almost all the books you want to read are available. It is much more stable than ordinary websites and updated faster. There are no advertisements in the full text. Closing square bracket. Blood door, what is it? Yang Kai listened for a long while, and finally couldn't help asking out of curiosity. He had also heard Yang Yue mention Blood Gate before, and he knew that this place, like the Tomb of All Souls, was one of the 2 forbidden places in the wild ancient land, but he didn't inquire about it specifically. But seeing Xie Wuwei's expression and words now, it seems that this bloody sect is so involved that even the 4 holy spirits of the ancient land interfered. This is no small matter. Yang Kai is now looking for Xiao Xiao and the 3rd child in the wild ancient land. It is not a bad thing to know more about the situation here. Hearing Yang Kai's question, Xie Wuwei was taken aback, and suddenly realized that there were 2 outsiders here, and the corner of his mouth twitched. He was so excited just now that he forgot about this. If it's inconvenient, just say it. Yang Kai smiled lightly, picked up the dark red tea that the maidservant had offered before, smelled it, but still didn't dare to drink it, for fear that it was brewed with blood. He said lightly, but Xie Wuwei didn't dare to take it too far. After all, Yang Kai was already interested. Who knew what he was thinking in his heart, so he could only take advantage of the situation and said, "It's not inconvenient, the matter of blood sect is useless to human beings. It is a forbidden place for my ancient creatures." Yang Kai Dao. I heard people mention before that the Blood Gate and the Tomb of All Souls are the 2 forbidden places in the ancient land. I don't know if it is true or not. Xie Wuwei nodded and said, "That's right. The Tomb of All Souls is the place where my ancient souls grow old and die, but the Blood Gate is the place where we wait for newborns to live and die, divided into 2 levels. The newborn place. Yang Kai was stunned. Xie Wuwei said in a deep voice, "An ancient rumor, enter the Blood Gate, get a new life, return to the ancestral veins, and transform into the Holy Spirit." Transforming the Holy Spirit. Yang Kai was startled. Could it be that if you enter the Blood Gate, you can become the Holy Spirit? Xie Wuwei nodded and said, "The literal meaning is like this. But who knows what is going on? Since the birth of the ancient land, this blood-gated forbidden place has appeared, and no one can approach it, and no one can enter it. But the ancient rumors, but it has been passed down from generation to generation. In the ancient land, even the little demons who have just opened up their spiritual wisdom know this rumor. To tell you the truth, "Young Master Yang, we and the ancient land creatures all carry the blood of the wild." Marshmallow Novel Network www. Mian Hua Tang. CC provides TXT for free download more or less, the amount is uncertain, the strength is strong or weak, and the qualifications are also related to the thickness of the blood. If it is possible to fully activate the blood in the body and reproduce the glory of the ancestors, it can naturally have the power comparable to the Holy Spirit. Yang Kai was amazed. There is such a place in this world, the blood gate really has such a miraculous effect. Xie Wuwei said. No one is sure if there is such a miraculous effect, but it is rumored that there are indeed a few holy spirits who came out of the blood gate, but it is a long time ago. There is no way to verify it. But no matter what, the blood gate is ancient to me. As far as living beings are concerned, it is nothing less than a great fortune, just like the rumors in the world that a carp jumped over the dragon gate and turned into a dragon. The existence of the blood gate is like that dragon gate, who would not want to try it? The Demon King also wants to go. Yang Kai's eyes revealed a strange color. Xie Wuwei snorted and said, "That's up to the adults to give them a chance. Now they have sent 8 great envoys to seal off the surrounding area, who can get close? But this way, some people have no money in this place. The one who knows the secrets of the blood gate best. It is undoubtedly the 4 saints." Yang Kai nodded slightly, hearing what Xie Wuwei said, he immediately understood the meaning of blood gate. If it is really possible to stimulate the blood of the ancestors in this ancient land creature, it will definitely increase its strength reads. This blood gate is indeed a place of rebirth, which is completely opposite to the place of old age and death in the tomb of all souls. The size of the world is indeed full of wonders. Yang Kai sighed inwardly. If he hadn't entered the wild ancient land for the sake of Xiao Xiao, he might not have imagined that there is such a magical place in this world. Several saints have been accumulating power for a long time, and they will make frequent moves. For the time being, no one dares to make any changes, but who can suppress the power of the ancestral line? In the end, I am afraid that it will be counterproductive. Send an order to closely monitor the situation on the side of the blood gate. If there is a change, report it immediately. I don't believe that more than 30 old guys will dormant obediently. Xie Wuwei waved his hand. The old guys in his mouth undoubtedly refer to the other 31 road demon kings. Yang Kai listened to his ears, and faintly realized that this wild ancient land did not seem to be monolithic. Yes, the skinny Yaozu ordered, and immediately went down to prepare to go. Xie Wuwei stood on the high platform, pondered for a while with an uncertain face, then suddenly raised his head to look at Yang Kai, and said, "Young Master Yang, what did you ask me to do for you?" Looking for someone, Yang Kai smiled slightly. "Who are you looking for?" Xie Wuwei asked in astonishment. "It's the crazy woman you saw before." Yang Kai stretched out his hand a little in front of him as he spoke, ripples swayed, and the image of the 3rd child appeared. Xie Wuwei looked at it, and his face couldn't help turning black. He still remembered the scene where he was hit by the 3rd child with the inner alchemy in the Tomb of All Souls. "I have a relationship with this woman. She is insane now, and it is dangerous to wander in the ancient land, so I need to find her and take her away." This is not difficult. Xie Wuwei felt relieved when he heard the words. He was worried that Yang Kai would do something embarrassing if he took his own soul seal, but now it seems that he is just looking for someone. It is really a trivial matter. He turned his eyes to a rogue-eyed man below, and said, "Shuyu, pass on an order to tell the brothers to pay more attention to this woman's presence, and report immediately if they find out. Besides, don't let anyone hurt her." The monster clan named Shuyu immediately cupped his fists and said, "Yes." Turned around and walked out. Xie Wuwei turned his head to look at Yang Kai, and said, "If this woman is still in the ancient land, as long as she shows up, she will definitely be noticed by this king's subordinates, and Yang Xiaojing can just wait for the good news." Yang Kai nodded in satisfaction. "Thank you, Demon King." The corner of Xie Wuwei's mouth twitched, and he said against his will, "Young Master Yang's matter is my king's matter. You are welcome. Come and take young Master Yang down to rest, so that you can settle down." He couldn't wait to beat Yang Kai. After all, he was still a little uncomfortable with Yang Kai, fearing that his subordinates would find out something and lose face. "No hurry." Yang Kai raised his hand and interrupted him. "I still need to find some news from the Demon King." Xie Wuwei frowned slightly and looked at him. Yang Kai stretched out his hand and pointed forward, just about to condense the small image. Suddenly a loud noise came from below, followed by a burst of shaking. The whole hall shook when he got up. The maid servants screamed in fright, and the faces of the 4 monsters who stood down also changed. Roar! A muffled roar suddenly came from deep underground, like a ferocious beast trapped for thousands of years, extremely dull. Everyone could feel the anger of the owner of the voice. Yang Kai was as motionless as a mountain, looking at Xie Wuwei curiously, not knowing what happened to him, and what monster was suppressed under this mountain. Xie Wuwei's expression was not good. He turned his head to look at the demon clan below, and shouted, "That big guy hasn't surrendered yet." One of the monsters said with an ugly face, "That thing is a bit stubborn. I tried many methods but I couldn't get it to submit." "A bunch of trash," Xie Wuwei snorted coldly, "and several monster races couldn't even raise their heads after being trained. This king will go and see for himself. I don't know what the suppressed monster at the foot of the mountain is useful to Xie Wuwei. This king needs to deal with something. You go to rest with this king's maidservant, and later this king will come to make amends." "It's okay, I'll join in the fun too." Yang Kai smiled slightly. Xie Wuwei rolled his eyes, but he couldn't stop Yang Kai, so he could only walk forward sullenly. The remaining 4 monster races hurriedly followed, and they also murmured in their hearts. They felt that Lord Monster King was too polite to this human being, and even let him participate in such a confidential matter. After leaving the main hall, they soon came to a cave, and a group of people drilled in one by one. The cave seems to be just an entrance, and the steps go down all the way, and I don't know where it stretches. There are fluorites on both sides of the cave wall to diffuse light, but it doesn't look dim. Several people strode like flying, galloping down the steps. After walking down for more than a few thousand zhong, the terrain suddenly became clear. This underground is a spacious underground palace. In the underground palace, there are many monster clans gathered, but at this moment, these monster clans are all facing a big enemy, and many monster clans have even revealed their real bodies, looking at a certain place in the underground palace in horror. Seeing Xie Wuwei and a few of his subordinates coming, these monster races backed away one after another, with respectful and fearful expressions. Xie Wuwei glanced left and right, stretched out his hand to attract a little demon, and asked, "What's going on?" The little demon's face was bloodless, and he stammered, "I don't know." The big guy suddenly woke up, thundering, "I can't stop my low strength, and several brothers have already died. Lock the god chain, I'm afraid he's out of trouble. Go away, what use does this king want you to have?" Xie Wuwei looked displeased, swept the little monster aside with a wave of his sleeve, and went straight to the depths of the underground palace. Roar! Another roar came out, and the sound wave was wrapped in a gust of wind and ravaged the underground palace. Only the clothes of all the people who blew were rattling and their heads were flying. Yang Kai showed surprise on his face. He didn't know what kind of ghost was suppressed in this underground palace, so powerful. Out of curiosity, he used his eyes to look inward. As far as he could see, Yang Kai's expression was stunned, and the whole person froze in place as if struck by lightning. Tremblingly said, "Little." A few tens of feet away, a huge, 5-foot-tall humanoid figure was held in place by pitch-black chains. The behemoth had sharp edges and corners. With the luster of stone, but with clear facial features, strong limbs, full of explosive power. The big guy in front of him is clearly what Xiao Xiao looks like when he grows up. To be continued.